ADBN, Advocate Broadcasting Network.
Hello, good morning, and a warm welcome to ADBN's flagship program, Morning Express. My name is Chijioke Okafo. Now, this is the program where we bring you up to speed with latest developments within and outside the country. And one of the stories making headlines in the news this morning is the return of the suspended People's Democratic Party chairman, national chairman, Damagum. Now, this has been met with a lot of anxiety. However, some governors are backing him, avoiding legal battle. We will come and discuss this on the program as we look to have our in-house analyst much later in the program. But before we take the headline stories and delve into other matters, let's head over to our news desk and join Amma Marcus to take us through our first major news bulletin of the day. Hello and good morning, Amma.
Hello, Chijioke. Good morning and welcome to ADBN News at 7. We bring you the latest headlines from across the nation and the world. I am Amma Marcus. The senator representing Kano South, Senator Somalia Kawu, has advocated that elective and appointed political office holders should be subjected to drug test before assuming office. Senator Kawu, while contributing to a debate on the floor of the Senate, alleged that political leaders buy drugs for their supporters during elections.
Reducing productivity and fueling crime rates. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the objective of this bill is to raise public awareness about the dangers of drug abuse and illicit drugs, drug trafficking, conduct research and collect data to develop effective strategies for drug abuse prevention and rehabilitation, promote national efforts aimed at preventing drug abuse and facilitating rehabilitation of drug users.
Senator Kawu added that the hydra-headed problem of drug trafficking and consumption has eaten deep into the fabric of the society.
Mr. President, we need, whether we are allowing this bill to continue to have an agency or we are strengthening LDE, we need to create a situation where before contesting election or before taking appointment at whatever in government level, you must go for drugs test.
Without being economical with truth, more than 70% of our youthful population are into drug consumption. And from my own little discussion in my constituency, I discovered that the issue goes beyond NDLEA. NDLEA had become so compromised, so ineffective, to the extent that leaving drug enforcement or drug education to NDLEA, we will never get where we are going to.
In their contribution, Senators Seriaka Dixon and Adam Tushomale strongly opposed the establishment of a new agency to tackle the problem of drug abuse, especially with the existence of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency.
Reconcile it with the law establishing the NDLEA and see whether or not we just need to strengthen the NDLEA or we need a complete new outfit. My worry is that we are spending so much money on overhead. You are going to have directors, you are going to have boards, you are going to have all kinds of buildings, etc., etc. All of that goes into recurrent expenditure, which add little or no value to the quality of life of Nigerians. I agree we must deal decisively with drug-related issues, but I'm not convinced that we need to establish yet another agencies that will be competing with the NDLA. Thank you, Mr. President.
After a heated debate, the bill scaled second reading after a voice vote coordinated by the Deputy President of the Senate and referred to the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics to report back in 4 weeks.
Bill to establish the National Institute for Drug Awareness and Rehabilitation to coordinate efforts in promoting drug awareness, preventing substance abuse, and facilitating rehabilitation of drug users, and for related matters, 2024 second reading taken. The NDLA, I must say, has been doing very well. Since the takeover or the leadership of the current chairman is brought into that organization, that agency, the agency has been doing very well. We need to commend them for that. Because once someone is doing well, as a leader, as a chairman, he needs to be commended so that he can do more. To now say they're not doing well, I think is not the correct narrative about how NDL is being run as we speak.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has called on the federal government to invite the Libyan ambassador to Nigeria for questioning on the inhuman treatment meted out to the Super Eagles of Nigeria in the North African country. The Green Chamber also condemned the inhuman treatment, frustration of the Super Eagles and the Nigerian delegation by the Libyan Football Federation and the Libyan government, as well as sympathized with the national team and appreciated its patriotism. These resolutions followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a member representing Gashua Tase Federal Constituency of Zamfara State, Honorable Kabiru Amadu, at yesterday's plenary.
Mr. Speaker, concern about frustrating 18 hours ordeal faced by the Super Eagles of Nigeria at Al-Brak International Airport in Libya, where they were left stranded on arrival at 14 hours on Sunday, October 2024, till the team and the contingent departed from the airport after 18 hours. Also concerned that the team and the delegation were en route to Benghazi in Libya before the aircraft was unexpectedly diverted mid-flight to the Al-Abrak, a small, abundant airport that reserves for emergency in Al-Abrak, Libya. Mr. Speaker, also disturbed that despite diverting the flight to a small airport with little or no amenities, the Libyan authority does not allow the team to get out of the airport or move to their hotel. No access to internet, no food. The airport was cordoned and they were held hostage for 18 hours.
Nigerians and also Africans I fully endorse all the prayers as encapsulated in the motion that was moved by my able colleague that this matter deserves very, very serious and urgent investigation to make sure that similar incident does not occur in the future.
In another development, House of Representatives mandated Nigeria-Cameroon Friendship Group to review the Nigeria-Cameroon arrangement and agreement on the Lagdo Dam aimed at averting the recurring flood disasters in the country. The House also mandated the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and the Federal Ministry of Works to expedite the completion of the Dasen Hausa Dam in Adamawa State, which will act as a buffer and help to absorb excess water released from the Lagdo Dam and the rehabilitation of critical infrastructure in flood-prone areas. The House, in its resolutions, also addressed the Federal Ministry of Environment to undertake a comprehensive study of the impact of climate change and the Lagdo Dam's annual release on Nigeria's riverine communities, and to develop an actionable flood management plan to protect lives and properties.
The House, recognizing the urgent need for the federal government to develop the long-term solutions to mitigate the impact of the annual flooding and to protect vulnerable communities along the River Benue and Niger basins. The House is called upon to resolve to mandate the Nigerian-Cameroon Friendship Group to investigate the Nigerian-Cameroon arrangement and agreement on the Lagdo Dam and mitigation measures therein and advise the House within 2 weeks for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the House is also called upon to mandate the Federal Ministry of Works and Water Resources and the Federal Ministry to mandate the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Federal Ministry of Works to expedite the completion of the Dasin Hausa Dam in Adamawa State, which will act as a buffer and help to absorb excess water released from Lagdo Dam and rehabilitation of critical infrastructure in flood-prone areas.
In the meantime, federal government has assured that the promotion of cultural heritage will not only boost the country's global standing, but also enhance revenue generation and create job opportunities. Minister of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, Barrister Hannatu Musawa, gave the assurance at the pre-launch of Dudu Plugs, a platform for connecting culture, connectivity and community, held in Abuja. ADBN correspondent Fumilola Adeyemi has details.
As part of efforts to increase international exposure of Nigerians' cultural assets, National Institute for Cultural Orientation launched a cutting-edge digital platform developed to project Nigerians' rich cultural areas to the world. Barrister Anatu, represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Madam Ibini Robert, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Affairs Office, Dr. Emerson Umobong, explained that our culture is not just an identity, but an avenue for economic growth.
A platform such as this can guarantee interconnectivity, standardization, and competitiveness in the way that can guarantee an appreciable revenue stream to be accrued in foreign exchange.
By presenting ourselves and our culture to the global community, we are opening doors to new opportunities, fostering collaboration and promoting cross-cultural understanding. I am delighted to note that this project aligns with our government's vision to drive economic growth through creative industries.
On his part, Special Advisor on Information and Strategy to the President, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, said there is a lot to be proud of in Nigeria and Africa.
This new blog is going to cover even more than music, more than films, all the gamut of our entertainment for our cultural heritage. I'm sure we have a lot of things to showcase. We have so many things to be proud of.
Executive Secretary of NITCO, Otumba Abiodun Ajiboye, explained that the initiative will showcase Nigerians' rich cultural heritage to the world in a way that will attract global acceptance, accessibility, and foreign exchange earnings, as well as evoke appreciation, thereby strengthening its economic and international image.
Apart from showcasing Nigeria's rich array of artistic, culinary, and linguistic practices towards engaging younger generations, encouraging them to reconnect with their roots and embrace Nigerian culture with pride, Dudu Plugs also seeks to reposition and position Nigeria as a prime cultural destination, promoting tourism and a global appreciation of the country's heritage.
With the program pre-launched, it is believed that it will provide millions of Nigerian children in the diaspora with the opportunity to learn and understand their indigenous languages and rich cultural heritage. From Lola Adeyemi, ADBN News.
As the world observes International Day for Rural Women, we take a moment to honor the indispensable role rural women play in agriculture, food security, and rural development. Our FCT correspondent, Naomi Oleribe, takes us to Gwagwalada Area Council, where she shines a spotlight on the resilience and determination of rural women who, despite numerous challenges, remain key to sustaining their communities.
Across the globe, rural women are the backbone of food production, working tirelessly to provide for their families and communities. Though their contributions are invaluable, they are often unseen. In Nigeria, these women form the bedrock of the agricultural sector, cultivating the food that sustains millions. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, they make up a large proportion of the agricultural labor force, between 60% and 79%, depending on the region. Meet the women behind the food on our tables. Farmers who have cultivated not just crops, but hope for a better tomorrow. We visited their farms to see firsthand how they contribute to feeding communities, even in the face of adversity. These women grow rice, beans, yams, and more, producing the very food we rely on every day. Their dedication to farming is more than a job. It is a way of life passed down through generations.
This got the egg farm. Both beans, they are inside. All they are together, both okra. So the okra, they already plugged the okra. Sometimes, like now, the okra, sometimes they get reach 5 bag. Before they get it reach like 10 bag, but now, like 5 bag, because I don't have too much of money that I'm farming it now. They got the egg before they get reach like 20 bags. So now the tea reduced, they get like 10 bag now.
Ada wannan banasiri bai kosa haka ba yanzu haka mudu 2,500 buhu 140.
Unicorn before is 70, now it's more than 100.
Their contribution to society goes beyond the fields. These women are not just farmers, they are mothers, entrepreneurs, and community builders. Their efforts support the local economy, nourish families, and build a better future for their children. Yet, behind every success, there are struggles. These women face a lack of access to fertilizers, transportation, and financial support. Even theft threatens their livelihood.
You know, say this farm that we are farm, we have issue of money because we are giving them money to farm for us. Because you get the time that we will not have the strength to do it. Even though you have the strength, like our men, they like money, so we give them money to farm for us.
The thing they affect us too much because we will not get grant. What would they take the farm? Nah, hire would they hire them? Sometimes 50,000, 30,000 now would they spend before then we go get land to farm.
Ina bukatan taki, rashin kudi ne, isheshen kudi ne ba shi ba. Taki ma muna saya ne. Kame mu samu kudi mu saya da shi wahala ne.
On this International Day for Rural Women, we celebrate the women whose hands feed us, whose strength inspires us, and whose work sustains our future. Their contributions are endless and their resilience unmatched. As we honor them today, we must also strive to support and uplift the women who make it all possible.
The need to maintain proper hygiene has been brought to the fore as the world celebrates the Global Hand Washing Day. As this year's themes being, Are Clean Hands Still Important? ADBN's Peace Ogenegbawe expressed the need for sustainable hand hygiene.
Good hygiene globally has been identified as critical to preventing spread of infectious diseases and helping communities lead long, healthy lives. Raising awareness about the importance of knowledge and learning on hand hygiene at the right times has also been identified as even more important, as the hand is a major contributor to one of the gateways into the human system. Outbreak in Nigeria of Ebola virus disease in 2014 galvanized government and people to action to consistently promote and practice effective hand washing with disinfectants. However, without a culture of good hand hygiene practice and availability of enabling facilities and products such as water and soap, hand washing will be a near impossibility. Federal government, in partnership with the World Health Organization and UNICEF, prepared a roadmap 2021 to 2025 to help achieve this global goal. 3 years down the lane, Are clean hands still important?
Washing hands are still very vital, are still very important, even though we are not in the COVID-19 era.
Access to hygiene services has become very important to achieving this roadmap. 2021 reports have it that only 17% of households have access to basic hand hygiene services. This, unfortunately, has been rated as too low to achieve a great hygienic community, leading to a renewed advocacy for healthy hand hygiene. How far are people catching up with this advocacy?
I do wash my hand all the time. I have shampoo. Whenever I touch the customer hair, after barbing him, I do come outside and wash my hand.
Counting of money is one thing that is very, very risky because the whole Nigeria touch the money before it gets to you. So you are at risk of contacting different things. But we do wash our hand. That one is normal. We wash our hands always. But on several occasions, we do forget.
Because this is our business, we normally use charcoal. So if we use our hand to pack charcoal and put on the fire, then we have to wash the hand before we use it to sell for customers. And when we are busy selling, we used to collect money with our hands. And we will still wash our hand before we use that hand to sell for customers because many customers, they don't like it.
With at least 167 million homes without access to hand-washing facilities, what guiding principles and strategic objectives must be pursued to achieve a significant shift by 2025?
Create more hand-washing facilities in public spaces such as schools, such as hospitals, if possible, even roads that we pass.
How can the culture of hand-washing be sustained?
The government, non-governmental organizations, we need to all work together.
Whenever you touch anything, make sure you wash your hand, especially if you're going to your mouth.
Good hand hygiene is an economical public health measure and a cornerstone for safe and effective healthcare. Clean hands are therefore still important and must be maintained. Peace or Genegbawe, ADBN News.
And now to other stories. Action Aid Nigeria, in collaboration with Women Environmental Program, has resolved to improve the country's contribution and representation to global climate change discussions. Now, ahead of the upcoming COP29 summit in Baku, Azerbaijan, Action Aid Nigeria, in conjunction with Women Environmental Program, has called on the federal government to set an agenda that seeks to resolve the current climate change issues currently affecting the livelihood of Nigerians. Both civil society groups made their contributions at a meeting in Abuja. Our correspondent Ogundana Eniola has details.
Country Director, Action Aid Nigeria, Mr. Andrew Mamedo, in his remarks, called for improved funding from the federal government in tackling climate change issues in the country.
Let's have the conversation with the government, not just as civil society or citizens group, but what is our government of Nigeria taking to the table in the conversation? Do we agree? There are areas we will agree, and there are areas we probably not agree on. I'll tell you one area we don't agree on. Is government investing enough in the area of climate change? The answer is no. The government can definitely do more. So we can do an analysis around what government is investing in for climate change right now, and how are we actually doing the talk, not just talking about it, but doing the talk. Now, this dialogue, organized in partnership with WEB, is for us to develop, together we harmonize our position and develop key messages and craft a unified Nigerian stance as we approach the COP29. We'll ensure that the priorities of women and young people are central to the discussion on climate justice.
Meanwhile, founder Women Environment Program, Mrs. Priscilla Chapa, in her remarks, called for improved engagement between civil societies and federal government in tackling climate issues.
And so it is very important for all of us. We must engage. Please, as young people, stop sitting on the fence. Engage your leadership. We have the Ministry of Environment, Department of Climate Change. You have the ministers, both senior and junior. You have, not junior, Minister of State. You also have the National Council on Climate Change. At the state level, they need you. They need your knowledge. They need to know what is happening.
Also, Vice Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Environment, Honorable Tese Ugbo, in his remarks, advocated for quality investments, better projects, and improved funding to curb climate issues and improve agriculture in the country.
So I just want to encourage us to look at how we can explore better opportunities and better funding channels. Of course, better pipeline of projects that are climate smart and can actually help us to showcase what we're all about and the needs and the challenges of Nigeria at the next COP29.
The event was conducted to address climate issues affecting livelihoods of Nigerians. From the nation's capital, Ogudane Niola, ADBN News.
You're watching ADBN News at 7. Watch us on DSTV, channel 258, on StarTimes, channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website on adbntv.com. More stories to come after this break. Stay with us.
In a world of overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. You're watching ADBN News at 7. Niger Delta Development Commission has flagged off distribution of 45,000 U-lesson educational tablets and software initiatives to primary and secondary schools in the Niger Delta region, marking the largest educational technology investment in Africa. The Commission's Managing Director, Dr. Samuel Obuku, represented by the NDDC Director, Education, Health and Social Services, Dr. George Uzowane, highlighted the Commission's dedication to fostering educational initiatives that promote literacy, numeracy, and lifelong learning.
If you recall, during COVID, all schools were closed. And it was only the children of the rich that had the opportunity of having these university tablets, and they continued their education. So the NEDC felt that the children of the Niger Delta also deserve to have these opportunities, these tools, to be able to compete with their contemporaries around the country. Because the people that patronized this in the past were people in the Lagos, Kano, Abuja, Port Harcourt maybe, but not people in our communities. So we felt that we need to deploy these tools to enhance their education, and that was how this program was birthed.
NDDC consultant for the U-Lesson Group, Mr. Sim Shagaya, emphasized importance of technology in today's world and lauded the NDDC for taking the lead in ensuring Niger Delta youths are not left behind.
To be completely honest with you, this device was used by the elite of Nigeria. So a lot of the customers were from, Ikoyi and Victoria Island and Lekki and Surulere and Maitama and, the traditional elite. This is the first instance in which a government agency is standing as a middleman between ULESN and the average person and the masses, so to speak. And by doing that, they're helping me achieve a dream that I've had. Something so powerful as a ULESN tablet should not only be used by the elite, it should be used by everybody. But only government can serve that go-between, that middleman purpose. The second thing also is that this is the largest intervention of its kind in education technology. It really took a lot of vision and a lot of boldness on the part of NDDC to pursue this, and they have to be commended for it.
NDDC's Executive Director, Project, Sir Victor Antai, represented by the NDDC Director, Utility, Infrastructure Development and Waterways, Engineer Albert Igbe, emphasized importance of adapting to technological advancements. Also, Paramount Ruler of Onopa, Chief Tamama Morris, commended the Commission for the novel program, noting it would offer more learning opportunities for students in the Niger Delta region.
To each of the schools in Inegwaya for advanced learning. It's very encourageable, and I really appreciate what they've done for the students.
In the meantime, Niger Delta Development Commission began emergency repairs on the dilapidated sections of the East-West Road connecting Warri in Delta State to Benin in Edo State. The repairs ordered by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu focuses on critical areas including Ibaduleme, Akpome Roundabout, Musoga and Ologbo. The Commission's Managing Director, Dr. Samuel Obuku, expressed gratitude to President Tinubu for the directive, emphasizing the Commission's swift mobilization of a civil engineering firm to undertake the remedial works.
On behalf of the people of the Niger Delta, thank you to the federal government of Nigeria for at least re-awarding this aspect of the East-West Road, which has been bad for a long time. What the Ministry of Works is doing, they are doing pure decompile, which is going to last longer. It is left for us to also reduce the pains and sufferings of our people. So I haven't heard lots of complaints, videos circulating all over the social media of how transporters and even our people are suffering on this road in various junctions, from this Elume junction to Amokbe down to Olugbo, various areas where vehicles cannot even pass. So we're asked by the president to undertake the remedial work to ensure that while construction is going on, the road is also passable so that we do not also increase the sufferings and the pains of the people.
Managing Director of the construction firm handling the project, Mr. Adara Okwelua, said the 3-kilometer portions to be repaired included those in Ibalume, Akpome Roundabout, Musoga and Olugbo.
The next section is Amokwe Roundabout. Then we have some other minor sections in between at Musoga. Even between this place and Amokwe, there are some areas to fix. Then the other major area is Olugbo, where we have a worse situation than what we have here.
The Commission assured speedy completion of the project, ensuring a durable and efficient road network for the Niger Delta region. Away from that, Ofo, an insignia for justice, peace and unity, is respected and revered in Igbo land and by extension in Ikwere ethnic group. Well, though the advent of Christianity has slightly diluted the efficiency of Ofo, the insignia is still highly revered in Ikwere, River State. In this special report, correspondent Achonu Temple visited Obele people in River State, where Ofo holders gathered to strengthen the practice, and reports that people there describe it as a signal of unity, justice, truth, and peace.
Barefooted old men, some above 100 years, marched through Obele community amid significant silence, suggesting respect for the highest decision-making body in the land. each bearing a stick of about 4 feet long, horn from buffalo or antelope. Their traditional wares were laced with red traditional caps suited for the cultural practice. These old men are believed to be blameless of any commitments or crime. Once one is taken into the offer fold, he stops wearing shoes, abhors lies, and always stands for what is right. They have special seat, a locally made three-legged chair. These men don't drink in the same cup with anyone, hence the buffalo horn serves the purpose. It is also used for prayers and to pour libations. Head of the offer holders in Obele community, Uchendo Egonu, who represented his very old father, Dominic Egonu, speaks more on the import of the stick, horn, and the red cap.
Offer holder, whomever the gods is called to handle this throne is called by the gods of the land. So in Christendom, I will transfer it as a holy person, as a person who is chosen by the communities, by the gods of the community. This staff is marked as a mark of peace. Whenever conflicts come between man and woman or in the community, when once he raises it, just I have raised it now, hit it on the ground, it's significant that let there be peace and let everybody be clear. They fight the people who has conflict, either the woman or man, or the community that has problem, gun or knives that come with the sophisticated weapons. When once he raises it, everybody will go back. That is the mark of these staffs.
Among the offer holders is a professional surgeon, Pa Ikechi Woken. He became an offer holder after being chosen by the gods. He gave the botanical name of the offer as Deuterium seneganense. According to Dr. Woken, the offer, even in the government textbooks, is the highest decision-making body in Ikwere and Igbo land.
You don't talk how you just as you like, because you have reached the age of reasoning. You have surpassed that age of too much saying. You talk only when it is necessary.
The offer is always in the custody of the oldest man, who must be upright at all times. According to Dr. Woken, the origin of offer cannot be traced because it's shrouded in mysteries, saying only a diviner can explain. One major significance of the gathering of these octogenarian and septuagenarian was that it brings together thousands of sons and daughters of the area as a unifying force. At Chinono Temple, Adbn News.
In a bid to sustain the ongoing operational tempo in the Niger Delta region, troops of Division 6 Nigerian Army, in conjunction with other security agencies, successfully confiscated stolen products, arrested oil thieves, and frustrated several attempts at stealing crude oil from compromised pipelines across the region. In the preceding week, 37 illegal refining sites were destroyed, 12 boats, 9 vehicles and 4 motorcycles were intercepted with stolen products, 8 suspects arrested with over 230,000 litres of stolen products recovered. In Rivers State, around Agbesa General Area in Akukutoru local government area, troops destroyed 1 illegal refining site and recovered 9,000 litres of stolen automotive gas oil. Further, combing of the waterways led to the interception of a large wooden boat filled with over 120,000 litres of stolen crude. While at Eto Central Junction in Eleme local government area, troops discovered 1 illegal connection point that was traced to a facility with high elevated fence. It was further discovered that the facility has been a criminal loading point where 2 tanker trucks were intercepted loading stolen crude. The operation led to the recovery of over 40,000 stolen products and 5 guardmen arrested, among several other arrests and seizures. Announced Lagos State. The governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has officially launched the historic Red Line train service for full commercial operations. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who boarded the train on Tuesday, stressed that the Red Line, designed to carry 500,000 passengers daily at full capacity, will significantly improve commuting in the state, while assuring that the government will continue to increase the frequency of train services to meet demands. The governor encouraged residents to have their car records ready for boarding. The governor also urged residents to protect infrastructure from vandalism in public interest. You would recall that the Red Line was inaugurated on the 29th of February by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The Red Line is projected to transport around 500,000 residents daily, enhancing mobility across the city. You're still watching ADBN News at 7. Watch us on DSTV channel 258, on StarTimes channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website on adbntv.com. More stories to come after this break.
Welcome to the world where innovation meets opportunity, where ideas become empires. This is Market TV.
I am Idorian Flannan, and every week I'll be taking you inside the dynamic world of marketing and commercial business.
From groundbreaking startups to big businesses, Market TV brings you the best pricing and latest goods on display.
It's all about understanding your audience and staying ahead of the trends.
Witness the creative processes that drive the various brands.
Join us as we dive deep into the strategies that shape the commercial landscape, from streets to traditional advertising and social media. We cover it all.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or an aspiring entrepreneur, Market TV provides the insights you need to thrive.
This show gave us the tool to turn our vision into reality.
So, if you're ready to master the market, tune into Market TV every Saturday at 6 p.m.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
In this kind of situation now, what if they really no talk to una? Wetin be the way forward?
They go bury our chairman on Thursday. We go remain here.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we no dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager, the bank executive, they are the one the government should first face.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. And now to report on the foreign scene. International Criminal Court prosecutor has disclosed he is renewing an investigation in Congo and focusing on allegations of crimes committed in the conflict-torn North Kivu province in the Central African nation's east since early 2022. In a statement, Prosecutor Karim Khan said recent violence in North Kivu is interconnected with patterns of violence and hostilities that have plagued the region since mid-2002. Khan said his probe in North Kivu will not be limited to particular parties or members of specific groups. Rather, his office will examine holistically, independent and impartial the responsibility of all actors allegedly committing crimes within the court's jurisdiction. The ICC previously convicted 3 rebels of crimes in Congo's eastern Ituri region, including a notorious warlord, Bosco Ntandra, known as the Terminator, who was found guilty of crimes including murder, rape and sexual slavery. His convictions and 30-year sentence were upheld by appeal judges in 2021. Eastern Congo has long been overrun by more than 120 armed groups seeking to share in the region's gold and other resources, as some carrying out mass killings. Well, the result is in one of the world's largest humanitarian crises, with more than 7 million people displaced, many beyond reach of aid. United Nations Food Agency has stated that months of drought in southern Africa triggered by the El Nino weather phenomenon, has devastated the region with more than 27 million people and caused the worst hunger crisis in decades. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme has warned it could become a full-scale human catastrophe. It estimates that about 21 million children in Southern Africa are now malnourished as crops have failed. 5 countries, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe, have declared national disasters over the drought and resultant hunger. WFP spokesperson Thomson Phiri said 5 countries have pleaded for international aid, while Angola on the west coast of Africa and Mozambique on the east coast are also severely affected, showing the extent to which the drought swept across the region. Other aid agencies have said the drought in Southern Africa especially harsh, with the United States Aid Agency, USAID, saying in June it was the most severe drought in 100 years during January to March agricultural season, wiping out swaths of crops and foods for millions. And now to sports. Nigeria's Flamingos will seek maximum points when they face New Zealand on Wednesday night in their opening match of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup Finals in the Dominican Republic. The match is scheduled to kick off at 9 p.m. and the Flamingos, who finished third in the last edition of the tournament in India, aim to advance further this time around. Well, during the qualifying campaign for this year's finals, the Nigerian squad scored an impressive 25 goals in 6 matches, with standout forward Harmony Chidi netting 13 of those. But following their clash with New Zealand, the Flamingos would take on Ecuador on Saturday, 19th of October, and will face the host nation on Tuesday, the 22nd of October. Former Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel has agreed to become the next head coach of England's national team. England has been without a permanent manager since Gareth Southgate resigned following the 3 Lions defeats to Spain in the Euro 2024 final. Lee Carsley, appointed by the Football Association as interim manager, will continue in his role for England's final 2 Nation League matches against Greece and the Republic of Ireland in November. But Tuchel is expected to officially take over after these fixtures. His primary objective would be to lead England through the qualifying process for the 2026 World Cup, set to be held in the United States, Canada and Mexico. Well, that's it on ADBN News at 7. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, on Star Times channel 140, our TV app, Limex World TV app and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website on adbntv.com. Not forgetting, you can watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to adbntv.com/live. Thanks for joining the news this morning. I am Amma Marcus. Do stay tuned for a continuation of Morning Express.
Well, thank you so much, Amma Marcus, for taking us through our first news bulletin of the day. Earlier, we had brought you a report on rural women, where our FCT correspondent Naomi Oleribe threw a spotlight on the rural women of Gwagwalada Area Council. Now, as the report greets your screen, we will be back in a short while to take you through newspaper review headline segment. Take a look.
Across the globe, rural women are the backbone of food production, working tirelessly to provide for their families and communities. Though their contributions are invaluable, they are often unseen. In Nigeria, these women form the bedrock of the agricultural sector, cultivating the food that sustains millions. Despite facing economic challenges, they continue to grow and harvest crops, feeding not just their families, but an entire nation. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, they make up a large proportion of the agricultural labor force, between 60% and 79%, depending on the region. These women are responsible for key food crops such as cassava, yams, and maize, which are staples in Nigeria's diet. Additionally, they play a key role in small-scale livestock farming. Meet the women behind the food on our tables. Farmers who have cultivated not just crops, but hope for a better tomorrow. We visited their farms to see firsthand how they contribute to feeding communities, even in the face of adversity. These women grow rice, beans, yams, and more, producing the very food we rely on every day. Their dedication to farming is more than a job. It is a way of life passed down through generations.
These are the egg farm. Both beans, they are inside. All they are together, both okra. So the okra, they already plugged the okra. Sometimes, like now, the okra, sometimes they get reach 5 bag. Before they get it reach like 10 bag, but now, like 5 bag, because I don't have too much of money that I'm farming it now. They got the egg before they get a reach like 20 bags. So now the thing reduced, they get like 10 bags now.
Ada wannan banastir bai kosa aka ba yanzu aka mudu 2,500 buhu 140.
Unicorn before is 70, now it's more than 100.
Their contribution to society goes beyond the fields. These women are not just farmers, they are mothers, entrepreneurs, and community builders. Their efforts support the local economy, nourish families, and build a better future for their children. Sarkin Danladi Saleh, who is a community leader in this community, emphasizes the essential role these women play in the sustainable growth of local food production.
Our community, our women, most especially our women, they used to farm. Farm is their sources of their business to sustain their life and to provide money and sponsor their children to school.
Yet, behind every success, there are struggles. These women face a lack of access to fertilizers, transportation, and financial support. Even theft threatens their livelihood.
You know, say this farm that we are farm, we have issue of money because we are giving them money to farm for us. Because you get the time that we will not have the strength to do it. Even though you have the strength, like our men, they like money, so we give them money to farm for us.
The thing they affect us too much because we will not get grant. What would they take the farm? Nah, higher would they hire them? Sometimes 50,000, 30,000 now would they spend before then we go get land to farm.
Ina bukatan taki, rashin kudi ne, isheshen kudi ne ba shi ba. Taki ma muna saya ne. Kame mu samu kudi mu saya da shi wahala ne.
Gender disparities in access to resources such as irrigation, mechanization, and financial services persist, significantly affecting their productivity. Social norms and legal barriers further limit women's ownership of land, reducing their agricultural output and economic empowerment. Rural women in Nigeria who play a pivotal role in food production are deeply affected by the current economic challenges that have led to significant hikes in food prices. This has directly impacted food availability and affordability as rural farmers, especially women, struggle to maintain production levels while dealing with reduced purchasing power and access to essential supplies. The result has been a sharp increase in food prices across the country. Both buyers and sellers in the marketplaces expressed their concerns. Sellers, facing rising costs of transportation and inputs, are forced to raise prices, while buyers express frustration over their dwindling purchasing power.
So every people when they come to buy, they complain too much. They say they think too high. Some people that they buy 5 mudu before, they're going to start to 1 mudu, 2 mudu.
So how much did they sell this one before?
Before they sell them 700.
The gari is 1,001. Before we are selling it 350, 400 naira, but now it's 1,001.
You can't touch, you can't price. Even as I just enter this market this afternoon, everything I touch is too cost. I could not buy anything, so the thing provoked me, make me annoyed. I'm going home.
The high rate of things increasing, and before you know, you buy something in the morning, in the afternoon is high, times 3 of what you price in the morning.
On this International Day for Rural Women, we celebrate the women whose hands feed us, whose strength inspires us, and whose work sustains our future. Their contributions are endless and their resilience unmatched. As we honor them today, we must also strive to support and uplift the women who make it all possible.
You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now that was our correspondent Naomi Oleribe with a report celebrating rural women on the International Day for Rural Women. Now, away from that, let's delve into stories in the news this morning. We'll be taking a look at some newspaper publications from across the country with headline stories bordering around security, food crisis, and of course the internal crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party. Now, do well to note that these headline stories are read out as strictly published by the newspaper houses and not necessarily a stance or position of Adbn television on some of these issues. Your comments are as welcome as possible, and do make sure to keep your comments respectful and keep them as subjective as possible, and avoid using any inflammatory or inciting statements while you comment across our social media platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, as well as online. Well, that being said, as the world celebrates World Food Day, here on about 6 newspaper publications this morning, the story says that inflation is worrying Nigerians as they continue to beg and borrow for survival. Now, the Guardian newspaper, the Business Times, the Business Day, This Day newspaper, Nigerian News Direct, as well as the Nation newspaper all have semblance in their captions. Now, while analysts have claimed that the inflation rate is causing Nigerians to beg and borrow, the governor of Nigeria's Apex Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria, Yemi Cardoso, has said that the economy is on an upward trajectory and looks very promising. This is a very contrasting statement as to the reality of what Nigerians are seeing on ground. Now, with that, let's pick up our first paper of the lineup as we begin in this newspaper review segment. The Guardian newspaper greets your screen as I take the headline story. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we start off with the catchphrase in green: World Food Day. Inflation wearing Nigerians begging, borrowing for survival. Now, you'd also find inserted beneath that a projection or an estimate by the conservative estimate of the national average cost of a healthy diet of 1,255 naira per meal as of August figures. A family of 4 would require 150,000 naira a month to have a meal daily. Now, it also shows some other statistics there. saying that low-income families are unable to afford basic foods, while many Nigerians will struggle to meet their expenditures between now and 2025, according to a special survey. 1.5 million hectares of land have been inundated by flood and climate-induced issues and insecurity. And of course, 50% of fresh agricultural produce in Nigeria is lost during the post-harvest stage. Feature stories inserted to the right of the Guardian newspaper say that Nigeria and others may need 100 years to end extreme poverty, according to the World Bank. Teenager to 5 years in prison for sexual assault. On the rider, Power Minister denies multiple grid collapses, blames minor trip-offs. Your policies punishing Nigerians and professional bodies have told President Tinubu, while Abbas flays 10,000 naira monthly upkeep for pensioners. In Lagos, Red Line Rail begins operations to move 500,000 passengers daily. And pictures of prominence here is that of the flag-off of the PDP governorship campaign in Ondo State and the presentation of the party's flag to the party's governorship candidate, Chief Agbola Ajayi, in Akure on Tuesday. Now, these are the stories you'd find on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. In keeping with more reports springing up from around the country, let's pick up a copy of the Business Times newspaper now as we see what the headline story there looks like, as well as some other feature stories. Starting off with the Business Times newspaper, now stories above the masthead, you'd find the stories or the lead stories saying FG unveils new scheme to control inflation and create jobs, while NDIC and the task of protecting Nigerians' banking interests. Now beneath the masthead, the headline story here reads, ending poverty for half the world can take over 100 years, according to a report by the World Bank. Now straplines read, global goal of ending extreme poverty defined as $2.15 per person per day by 2030 is completely out of reach. And we need a fundamentally new development playbook if we are to truly improve people's lives and livelihoods and protect our planet. Now, this is still in line with a report by the World Bank in commemoration of the World Food Day. Address constraints limiting local products' competitiveness, Man urges federal government. And inflation rises to 32.70% as economic pressures mount. Telecom sector sees $304 million FDI surge in first half of 2024, while FIRS allays Nigerians' fears over tax reforms. Prominently inserted on the front page of the Business Times newspaper is a picture of Vice President Kashim Shettima with the Board of Directors of the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, Mr. Segun Ogunsanya, with other members at the Presidential Villa in Abuja on Tuesday. While Rather here says that the CBN Governor, Yemi Cardoso, has said CBN has outlined plans to address spiraling inflation, while also claiming that inflation has been on an upward trajectory. Says Nigeria's external reserves rose by 12.74% to $39.12 billion as of October 11, 2024. Now, these are stories captured in the Business Times newspaper. Let's head over to the Business Day as we look to get more reports on the Business Day as it greets your screen. World Bank ties Nigeria's recovery to reforms. Tinubu determined to pursue reforms to stabilize economy, says Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima. Future stories here. Nigeria Eurobonds in late rally ahead, likely $2 billion sale, while eggs missing in mills as price hits 6,000 naira per crate. Nigerians explore solar as petrol cost spikes, while Transcorp Power reports 153% revenue growth in third quarter of 2024. Here you'd find a picture of Jude Chiemeka, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Exchange Limited, and Temi Popula, Group Managing Director and CEO, NGX Group, Umaru Kwairanga, Group Chairman, NGX Group, Ladi Jadesimi, Chairman, Aradel Holdings PLC, and of course, Adegbite Falade, Managing Director, Aradel Holdings PLC, at the Aradel Holdings PLC listing by production at the NGX in Lagos yesterday. Away from the business day, our next paper on the lineup is This Day newspaper, still in line with World Food Day, where inflation is continually driving Nigerians to beg and borrow for survival. Now, on the front page of the Business Day newspaper, we start off with the headline story. After momentary relief, inflation hits 32.70% amid higher food and energy prices. Above the headline story and beneath the masthead, CJN laments number of pending cases, threatens sack of non-performing judges, while World Bank says ending extreme poverty by 2030 is no longer possible. This story is continued on news page 8 of This Day newspaper. The header above the masthead, Shell's $1.3 billion oil assets sale not in waiting room as federal government rejects Renaissance bid. Now, NUPRC concludes assessment, communicated decision to bidders in early August, poses over beneficial ownership issues, registration of firms in tax havens. While CPPE situation exacerbated by surging petrol price calls for urgent government intervention. You'd find a picture of the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, tapping his carry card to board the train on the red line flanked by Managing Director of Lamata, Engineer Mrs. Abimbola Akinajo, and others during the flag off of commercial operations of the red line rail at the Oyingbo terminal yesterday in Lagos. While finally, PDP governors choose the highway over feuding members to revert to status quo. This is as the suspended People's Democratic Party National Chairman returns to the picture in a much heated polity within the PDP. Away from This Day newspaper, let's pick up the Nigerian News Direct as well as the Nation newspaper, which will come after as we look to wrap up reports springing up from quarters around the country with regards to the World Food Day. Now, on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct, inflation rate hits 32.70% on petrol price hike after 2-month decline. CPPE urges government action to curb rising prices. Above the masthead, you'd find 4 stories of interest. Lagos Red Line commences commercial operations. NFIU withdrawal limit obstructing governance, says Ogun State government. Rivers Houses of Assembly seat passed 2 parallel motions, while PDP flags off campaign in Ondo as leaders affirm party unity. Now, inserted here is a picture of the Red Line train on its way from Oyingbo in Agbado at the beginning of passenger operations yesterday. While inserted also is a picture of the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu with some House of Assembly members at the opening of commercial services by the Red Line rail that runs from Oyingbo to Agbado yesterday. On the rider, Delta Initiative, Naseni awards 70.5 million naira grant to 6 female engineers in the country. And finally, let's pick up the Nation newspaper, where a very contrasting report by the CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso says that the economy is on an upward trajectory, but the reports also state that inflation is at an all-time high. As the Nation newspaper greets your screen now, we start off with the headline story. As you can see, economy in upward swing very promising, says Cardoso. Economy in upward swing, very promising, says Cardoso. Now, away from that story, above the masthead, Governor Soludo of Anambra State says councils can't be autonomous in a controversial bill that has been signed in the state. It was narrow escape in Libya, pilot who flew eagles reveals. While Rivers Assembly declares seats of Ehe, Okojumbo vacant, and Senator Kawu accuses colleagues of drug use. In the Ondo 2024 elections, police ready for election, says IGP, while APC say our target is to win all 18 councils. INEC releases voter register to political parties. Stay away from voting arena, electoral agency warns people without PVC. We will protest until REC is removed, says Governor Sheyi Makinde. Now, the Lagos Red Rail line from Oyingbo to Agbado has taken off as Governor Sanwo-Olu serves as head ground staff. Inserted there is a picture of the governor with some members of the House of Assembly in Lagos State. Now, these are all the reports that you can find surrounding the World Food Day. Now, in another development, the much controversial situation that the Super Eagles of Nigeria faced in Libya has been making rounds in the news. The Senate swinging into action, claiming that they will take the necessary decisions to ensure that justice is served in a situation that many people believe was very unfair to Nigeria's senior team, the Super Eagles. Now, on the front pages of the Matrix newspaper as well as the Vanguard newspaper, we get reports surrounding the and how the story unfolded. Let's pick up the first paper on the lineup, the Matrix now, shall we? Front page of the Matrix newspaper. We start off with the headline story, Super Eagles ordeal in Libya splashed in red. Federal government, National Assembly talk tough. Straplines say as they demand tough sanction against Libya for terrible, condemnable treatment. And federal government accuses Libya of deliberately subjecting Super Eagles to inhumane treatment. Sports minister reveals how CAF failed to react to situation for over 13 hours. Above the masthead, NMDPRA revokes defunct DPR regulations. And CAF removes Nigeria's Libya AFCON qualifier from its schedule. This story is continued and captured more elaboratively on news page 22 of the Matrix newspaper. Beneath the masthead, you'd find 3 stories here. Federal government ramps up revenue collection drive. Committee on Fiscal Policy laments revenue leakages, while FIRS allays fears over tax reforms. Rivers Assembly declares seats of pro-Fubara lawmakers vacant. PDP governors resolve NWC crisis. Suspended members now reinstated. While other feature stories, the federal government denies UK backing Igboho's petition. And Sanwo-Olu launches Red Line Rail commercial operations. Federal government targets 180 billion naira from bond market in October. Now, of course, inserted here is a picture of the launching of the Red Line for commercial operations with Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State as well as some members of the House of Assembly in Lagos. Now let's pick up our next paper, the Vanguard newspaper, still staying with stories around the horrifying experience that the Super Eagles of Nigeria faced in Libya in what many people believe was a hostage situation. On the Vanguard newspaper, Super Eagles Libyan horror show. Highest authority ordered diversion of flight, says the pilot who flew the Super Eagles to Libya and back. Says such unexpected diversion can compromise safety as National Assembly blasts 6 Libyan government's apology. Senate calls for probe, seeks stiffer penalties for Libya. And Reps asks federal government to summon Libyan ambassador to Nigeria. I'm still in shock. says Super Eagles head coach Augustin Eguavon, while CAF officially puts Nigeria and Libya match on hold. Above the masthead, we start off with the story splashed in purple. Inflation rate rises to 32.7%, while Nigeria's foreign reserves rose to 39 billion naira in October, says Yemi Cardoso, as he also says inflation remains a major concern. State of the Nation, how Nigerians can take back our country, according to a statement by Professor Pat Utomi, and why governors nullified suspensions, ordered return to status quo in the PDP crisis. Inserted here is a picture of a crowd of supporters of the party at the flag-off of the People's Democratic Party governorship campaign in Ondo State and the presentation of the party's flag to the governorship candidate Chief Agbola Ajayi in Akure yesterday. Feature stories inserted to the right of these pictures now. Reps seek review of Lagdo Dam agreement between Nigeria and Cameroon, while Umahi engages 6 SANs to defend 15 trillion naira Lagos-Calabar highway budget suit. National grid collapses second time in 24 hours. These are the many stories you'd find on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, yesterday at the floor of the Senate, there was uproar as a senator made a push to test politicians for drugs. Not just politicians, but public office holders, either elected or appointed. Now, this story is captured on 2 major newspaper publications this morning, the Daily Sun newspaper as well as the First News newspaper. We start off with the Daily Sun newspaper as reactions trail the motion that has been met with a lot of backlash. On the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper, uproar in Senate over push to test politicians for drugs. Straplines read, lawmakers disagree on narcotics agency, and some politicians fueling drug abuse use homes as storage for narcotics, says Senator Kawu. Above the headline story, inserted beside the masthead, Uche Oga transforms Southeast with industrialization. While beneath that, federal government reconstitutes committee to renegotiate varsity pact as ASU and other unions are hopeful. Rider stories here say focus shifts to NEC after governor's decision on Damagum, while bank recapitalization to support 2030 $1 trillion economy target, says CBN governor. Inflation increased to 32.70% in September. UK didn't endorse Igboho's petition, federal government says, while Soludo dares government and local government autonomy, quoted recipe for humongous chaos, signs LG administration law. From the Daily Sun, the First News newspaper is our next paper on the lineup. Now as you greet to your screen, on the First News, most of our offices have drug dealers. Senator alleges drug abuse amongst lawmakers. Most of our offices have drug dealers. Senator alleges drug abuse amongst lawmakers. EFCC operatives held hostage at Enugu radio station for Ponzi scheme. And World Bank Vice President urges Nigerian government to sustain reforms amid hardship. Customs, NSITF agree on joint task force to address welfare fund discrepancies, while reps ask federal government to summon Libya ambassador over Super Eagles' ill treatment. Amaule-led Rivers Assembly declares pro-Fubara lawmakers' seats vacant, and no UK backing for Sunday Igboho's Yoruba Nation plea, the federal government has clarified. On the rider, national grid collapse, a national shame, leadership failure, says LP presidential candidate in the last elections, Peter Obi, while federal government mandates foreign airlines to use local caterers for in-flight meals. These are the many stories on the front page of the First News newspaper. Now, following the internal crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party and the suspension of the party's national chairman, Damagum, in a twist, he has returned as PDP governors look to stabilize the party and resolve this crisis. Now, this story is captured elaboratively on about 4 newspaper publications this morning: the Blueprint newspaper, the New Telegraph, Leadership, Nigeria Tribune, as well as Daily Trust. All have semblance in terms of their headline stories. We start off with the Blueprint newspaper now as it greets your screen. On the Blueprint newspaper, anxiety as People's Democratic Party National Chairman Damagum returns. This is the first story on the Blueprint. Now, straplines read: Ologunagba, Ajibade, others too. October 24 NEC remains unchanged. Governors Forum urges parties to sheath swords, maintain status quo. We will still win, although despite leadership crisis, Southwest Chair has said. Now, both the headline story and beneath the masthead: Rek Babalola, not Ondo indigene. INEC replies Makinde, leading up to the Ondo gubernatorial polls. And World Bank says Naira most competitive in decades. This is in business. In sports, Libya ordeal was a horrible experience, Coach Eguavon has revealed. Prominently inserted here is a picture of the central bank governor, Olayemi Cardoso, and Deputy Governor Economic Policy, Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, as well as Director Legal Services, Kofo Saddam Alada, during the House Committee on Banking Regulations meeting with stakeholders at the National Assembly in Abuja on Tuesday. And rather here reads: Tinubu's reforms not to impose new taxes on Nigerians, a statement by the FIRS. And we are not taxing poverty, but prosperity. This is a statement again by the FIRS. Away from the Blueprint newspaper, let's see how much more papers we can pick up before we have our in-house analysts join us virtually to have a more robust discussion into some of these national issues of interest. We move on to the New Telegraph newspaper. On the front page of the New Telegraph, as we look to establish more reports in the news, here it says, PDP crisis, a party crisis. PDP governors, National Working Committee, BOT, and National Assembly caucus broker peace, nullifies suspensions, reaffirmed Damagum as acting national chairman as NEC meeting seems uncertain. We will resist one-party state, governors have said. This story is continued on news pages 4 and 28 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Above the headline story, Rivers 800 billion naira 2024 budget already enacted into law, Budget Commissioner says, as States Assembly factions disagree on vacant lawmakers' seats. Frequent grid collapse, testament of leadership failure, Obi says, as he donates bus and 5 million naira to nursing school. September inflation hits 32.7% on fuel price hike after 2 months decline. And federal government directs foreign airlines to patronize local caterers on onboard meals. On the rider, Senate asks Libya to apologize to Nigeria as Akpabio and reps call for probe. And how we averted potential plane crash, a revelation by the pilot. It was like being held hostage. We feared for our lives, says Super Eagles star Simon. Libya, Nigeria risk points for feature and fine as well as suspensions. Attributable diseases treatment to gulp 4.37 billion naira by 2030, a special report has revealed. While man fears manufacturing sector shut down over 250% hike in tariff. Federal government fumes as agency demands money to release data. And absolute local government autonomy is a recipe for chaos, says Anambra State Governor Soludo. Well, we still have some more papers to take a look at in this segment of newspaper reviews. However, we will be having our in-house analyst join us in a short while after this break to start off the conversation and perhaps proffer solutions to some of these many disturbing issues in the news. Now we are being joined by Dr. Aliu Elias, who is on the line to share his thoughts with us on some of these critical issues. Hello and good morning, Doctor.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to always have you on the program. It's good to have you here. Let's start off with the World Food Day. Well, Nigeria has been faced with some strenuous food crisis in the last couple of years and more amplified within 2023. Now, with the celebration of World Food Day, reports say that many Nigerians have grown weary and have now resorted to begging and borrowing to be able to survive. How would you react to this commemoration of World Food Day and the reality that Nigerians are faced with?
Right. The reality of food, it's quite glaring in Nigeria. It's just not a news to anyone again. You agree with me that food as a commodity is now very scarce in Nigeria. Perhaps it's very beyond the reach of many. As you know that we have suffered a lot of in terms of purchasing power. We can also see even flood related problem. We can also see insecurity related problem. All this come together to give us a very challenging time in terms of food consumption. So when we say food consumption in Nigeria, it's becoming something that we have never experienced before. So it's a challenging time for that. And I think this today, what food should be a rethinking day to determine way forward to actually move on from where we are today. Because, you know, let's even look at nutritional food. You know, people are not looking at food that are nutritional now. People are looking at, do you eat at all? Were you able to consume at all? I can tell you, a lot of people are even doing it in the morning. There's no food in the afternoon. Then in the evening, you manage. That's what most families are doing. It's quite a challenging period for Nigeria.
Well, it's indeed quite a challenging period for Nigeria. But Dr. Aliu, don't you think that perhaps in a situation like this and with such commemoration, perhaps the federal government or the Ministry of Agriculture could have done something for vulnerable Nigerians? Now, yesterday was the International Day for Rural Women. And of course, in commemoration with that as well, perhaps the federal government, in line with the Ministry of Agriculture, could have done some sort of palliative sharing to people in rural communities to ensure that the rate of hunger is sort of suppressed in these rural communities. Do you share the same thoughts?
Right. I will differ a bit because, you know, majority of the land belongs to state government. So when you say federal government can only bring incentivize farmers, find a way to encourage their state. But the major food producing zone is from state. So each state is expected to have a particular hectares of land that they will use to food. By the time 36 states encourage farming and have their own even farm itself, it would have ameliorated the suffering. A good example is the Niger state government, who do not only make sure they provide tractor, is also using it in the state farm. So I think we need to go back and talk to this state, because states come to the federal government and collect allocation every year. How many people can federal government feed? Perhaps maybe federal government only have right on FCT. So other state belongs to state government. So for them to process, you could recall that even when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board, he said he declared state of emergency on food security. But 1 year down the line, we do not see any meaningful outcome. That simply means there is no good relationship between the federal government and the state to encourage states to farm. Then you must also give credit to President Muhammadu Buhari. Remember, he did anchor borrow. And you agree with me that the anchor borrow actually have a lot of impact. In fact, at a particular point, we are self-sufficient when it comes to food. Rice in particular. So we want this government also to do something like that. So I think we should hold states responsible for food security in Nigeria.
Well, Doctor, there is a very worrying statistics here, much like a report by the conservative estimate of the national average cost of a healthy diet in the country, which is pegged at about 1,225 naira per meal. Now, as of August, this year, a family of 4 typically would require 150,000 naira a month to have 1 meal per day. Now, not to talk of the standard 3 square meals per day. We are talking about 4 people in a family having 1 meal per day, cost about 150,000 naira. And our minimum wage as a country now stands at about 70,000 naira, with most state governors even refusing to pay the 70,000 naira. How do we balance this up to ensure that Nigerians don't begin to die of hunger? Because if people can't afford 1 square meal per day, I doubt if there will be some sort of law and order remaining in the country in the coming months.
Right. Honestly, I must commend we Nigerians. We are very, very enduring, I should say, because it's quite a tough time for our Nigerian people. But the fact is that it actually varies. It depends on where you are that you can buy a meal at 1,250 naira. It depends on where you are and what type of meal are we actually talking about. Is it meal that actually, qualify the standard of better living? Perhaps we also mentioned about, most of us consume from what is called autonomous consumption in economics, whereby you have to find other sources of surviving. Go to your neighbor, do this, do that, a lot of things. 150,000 naira for a month for a family of 5 to consume. How much is the salary? Salary of 70,000. I can also tell you it has not commenced. The 70,000 has not commenced. Most states are actually saying it, they have not started paying the money. So it's a harrowing period for our Nigerians to survive. But I think if there's anything Nigerians should be sufficient about, it should be food sufficient, because we have arable lands that are uncultivated. We have water that we can use for irrigation. The only problem is man-made problem. And what is man-made problem? Insecurity and policy direction of the government. Because I will also go back to what is bringing about food. Inflation, because the major driver of Nigerian inflation is still food inflation, and it's a function of energy. So sometimes you go to some environment, they have food and the food is rotten, but they cannot have that finance to move the food from the farm to the where they can sell it or people can buy it from them. So these are the problems. So it's a myriad of issues, but the low-hanging fruit we should solve is the problem of energy security to move the food, and the problem of farmers, elders, clashes and kidnapping, and also the inability of coordinated way of producing enough food for Nigeria. It's the problem.
Well, inability of producing coordinated food for Nigerians is part of the problem, but there is also another problem where it says about 50% of the food produce that Nigerians access from their farms are lost during the process of harvest. This is a very worrying statistics. Do you perhaps could share what might have been the reason for this such big losses, where 50% of farm produce are lost?
Why would 50% of farm produce are lost? I think it comes with a lot of factors. One, people are not well trained in terms of farming. Most people are doing subsistence farming, and when people are not exposed to processes of actually harvesting this farm produce, it becomes a problem. Number two, we have issue of storage. Ideally, there's some food that there's some produce that are perishable. But if you have the strategy to actually store it, it helps a lot. Even those that are not perishable, people don't really have the structure to actually produce it, and that's why we to preserve it. And that's why we talk about state government. State government are to come into this. So federal government cannot go to every local government to provide such solution. And that is the major problem. So I think the major thing we should be looking at is how states can actually come on board to support farming and farmers to make sure that they have the adequate technology, technology and knowledge to actually manage such.
Now, Dr. Aliu, in a very sharp contrast between the reality on ground with the food crisis in the country and the hunger and hardship that many Nigerians are faced with, the CBN governor has made some statements that many people might not really concur with. He mentioned that the economy is in an upward trajectory. However, inflation rate has also gone up about 34.7% as of today. How do we have these conflicting statements coming from the CBN governor, the reality of the inflation rate, as well as the reality of what Nigerians are facing, all contrasting?
Right. It's economy. Then, most time people want to interpret the figures, but sometimes those figures does not translate to the well-being of people. Perhaps it takes time. And if you look at the last inflation, it was reduced, but now it has increased within a month to about 32.7. What is the factor? The factor is just the major problem of energy security. So those indices they are looking at, they are just for the previous one. So we should continue to look at the current one, because Nigeria, the hardship continue, without a recourse or coming down at all. So I think those ones they are seeing are not true reflection of what is happening in Nigeria economy.
Well, thank you, Doctor, for sharing your thoughts with us on World Food Day and the reality of the food crisis faced with Nigerians are being faced with. Let's move away from that story a bit and touch on the much controversial Libya-Nigeria situation, where some Nigerians are divided over how the Libyans were received in Nigeria and what actually happened, and how the Super Eagles of Nigeria were held hostage at a Libyan airport for more than 15 hours before they were, able to be airlifted back into the country. Now, the Senate has swung into action, blowing hot and threatening to take actions or some sort of sanctions against the Libyan government, asking them to apologize to Nigerians and the Super Eagles of Nigeria for the ill treatment that our players were met with in Libya. What are your thoughts on this?
Right. I think two wrong does not make a right. I think that's the premise we should start from. So no matter what, I think Nigerians actually, maybe because of logistics and what have you, actually did what is not accepted, because we must also have culture of welcoming people and managing visitors very well, which is normal in our culture. We are very welcoming. So perhaps if there's a gap. So, but for Libya to now say, because there's 1 hour problem, you now give us that now our problem. I think that's quite very, very wrong. Perhaps if you look at the risk itself, you diverted the plane that was supposed to land at Benghazi to Al-Barak airport on air. That's one danger that we shouldn't even think about. And the second one is that you want to punish us because you think we have actually air on our own. I think that's what CAF should make sure that they actually punish, because if you allow this, and that's why I supported them not to have even played the match, because if they can treat us in this manner, we don't know what will happen when our players even get on the pitch. So I think it's a good idea for Nigerians not to play the match. Then I think it's a proper time to now see CAF and how active CAF is, because if CAF does not do what we actually expect, we take it to FIFA. Because it's quite surprising that you will now subject Nigeria to that level of pain. So not even 2 hours, 3 hours, it's in fact they don't have access to internet. The facility to take them to is not day-to-day facility. It's quite surprising. And this is where we also see our own NFF to do something very meaningful, because I think on a global stage we are not at the same level in terms of sport with Libya. So for Libya to now say yes, they want to punish Nigeria by themselves, why don't you report to the appropriate quarters and let them do what they're supposed to do? So I also saw the cancellation of the match. It's not mentioned, it's not on the dashboard, but I was thinking they should have awarded Nigeria at that point, because you cannot say you have to give Nigerian punishment by yourself and you still skate through that. I think we need to look at that properly.
Well, in looking at that properly, Dr. Aliu, what measures do you think that perhaps CAF or the federal government could take in ensuring that the necessary action is taken for this not to happen again? Now, remember that the National Assembly said that they will summon the Libyan ambassador to Nigeria for questioning, and they have also asked the Libyan government, a war-torn country at the moment, to apologize to Nigerians. But do you think there are better ways to address this, or maybe more effective ways to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And of course, they understand that this was in all ramifications a very wrong move, and holding Nigerian players hostage in their country is perhaps an act of what many might describe as an act of terrorism.
Right. Let's even look at it as a lacuna. Maybe there is no particular law that guided this process. Maybe it's happening for the first time. So I think going forward, this will give the CAF premise to actually have a law guiding it. This also gives Nigeria opportunity to plan in case of process like this again. Then on the part of NFF, I think they did so well, because recall, beyond our players, there are other personalities that are there. Deputy Governor of Edo State was there, other House of Rep members were there. So it's not a small thing. And so it's not only player experience, they also have experience. So I think it's good that the executive are there, the legislature are there, the player managers are there. And so I think it's a good. So, but going forward, we must use this as a springboard to engender our level of development of sports globally, for them to know that you can't do this to Nigeria and go scot-free. I think the federal government is doing the right thing, telling the Nigeria and Libya government to actually apologize. I think that should come first. Looking at the diplomatic agreement within us, that should have come first. And going forward, Nigeria will now have a law guiding such a break of process.
Well, Doctor, we have just about 4 minutes to wrap up this conversation. I'm afraid time will not permit us to discuss in-depthly into some of these issues. But there's something else I want you to react to before you go. At the floor of the Senate yesterday, Senator Kau, moved the motion, a push to test lawmakers or politicians in general for drug use, citing that even in the lawmakers' offices, there are people who peddle drugs within the National Assembly. Now, this was met by an uproar, of course, as expected. How would you react to such a very bold statement by Senator Kau and the possibility of this happening in the Nigerian political space?
I think it should be commended, and commended very well for that bold stuff. You recall, maybe it's Kano State also that has been checking the executive and the legislature before they came to office. It's not a bad idea at all. Who come with if you want to lead, you must lead by example. I want to say example. You must subject yourself to such tests. Look at that very, very maybe how do I call it? A very emphatic statement saying that some people even peddle drug in National Assembly. That's quite indicting. So I think they should look into that. And I want to say that I trust the Buba Marwa-led NDLEA. They can actually do that if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu support them to actually carry out that test. So anybody who fell a victim of such, it should be denied that position, so that we will discourage level of drug addiction or peddling of drug or sales of drugs or uses of drugs among our leaders. So it will now trickle down to citizens of Nigeria.
Well, in doing that, I believe a lot of issues surrounding drug abuse will be curtailed. Now, another issue that was raised is that of politicians giving out hard drugs to youngsters, especially during elections. Not necessarily political talks, but just people who are ardent supporters of these politicians. How do we curtail this? I know the NDLEA-led administration of General Buba Marwa is quite on top of its game. But how do we ensure more stringent measures to curb this menace?
It's going to be quite difficult because there is need for political will. It must come with political will. If there is no political will, I can tell you it does not work. And the political will should come from the executive and the legislature for him to actually carry out those things. So I think we just need to work our political and also review our, maybe you give it more constitutional backing that every person who wants to actually lead us should embark on, and anybody who found wanting, especially giving your followers drug, such person they should face maximum punishment. But the fact is that how is our process, how is our judiciary? Will we be able to really sanction these people? That is the question.
All right, Dr. Aliyu Elias, I must thank you so much for always finding the time to come around on the program. It's always a pleasure to have these discussions with you, with your vast wealth of knowledge and contributions to national issues.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, that has been Dr. Aliyu Elias, who is an economist and a social affairs commentator as well. And he has been lending his thoughts to stories surrounding World Food Day and the inflation that continues to rise in the country, as well as issues bordering around the Libya-Nigeria situation where Nigerians were held hostage in Libya, as well as the stories springing up from the Senate as well. All of these stories are stories of national interest, but there are still more stories of our national interest to discuss much later in the program. Before we do that, we'll take you to the international scene and have a look at stories making the rounds across the world. When we come back, we'll take you through yet another segment of Morning Express. Do well to stay with us.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on Adbn TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Step into the heartbeat of the world, where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world's unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
In a world of overwhelming voices, where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to the world where innovation meets opportunity, where ideas become empires. This is Market TV.
I am Idorian Flannan, and every week I'll be taking you inside the dynamic world of marketing and commercial business.
From groundbreaking startups to big businesses, Market TV brings you the best pricing and latest goods on display.
It's all about understanding your audience and staying ahead of the trends.
Witness the creative processes that drive the various brands.
Join us as we dive deep into the strategies that shape the commercial landscape. From streets to traditional advertising and social media, we cover it all.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or an aspiring entrepreneur, Market TV provides the insights you need to thrive.
This show gave us the tool to turn our vision into reality.
So, if you're ready to master the market, tune into Market TV every Saturday at 6 p.m.
Express. Now, in keeping with more reports around the world, let's head over to the international scene now to have a look at stories springing up from the UK, the US, Asia, as well as other parts of the world. Now, that being said, let's start off with our first paper of the International Review segment, the Daily Express. As it greets your screen, I'll take the headline story. Now, on the front page of the Daily Express, we start off with the story. Dame Esther calls for direct appeal to MPs in right to die battle. Time is running out. I need your help to change Creole law. Now, Esther Radzan has appealed for people to urge their MPs to back the assisted dying bill, which reaches Parliament today. Now, to get more insight on this story, it's continued on news page 4 of the Daily Express newspaper. Away from the Daily Express, let's pick up our next paper on the lineup, the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail here says, now PM is engulfed by Swift furrow. Sir Keir Starmer met Taylor Swift after police were pressured into giving her a blue light escort. Other stories here say the scandal deepens in Taylorgate as Starmer and his family not only attended concert after his ministers pressured met into blue light escort, but were granted a private audience with pop star and her mother. Now, an exclusive report on the Daily Mail says Archbishop of Canterbury's dramatic intervention on assisted dying in today's Mail. The right to die could become a duty to die. Continued on news page 5 of the Daily Mail. These are the stories you'd find on the Daily Mail newspaper. Now, the Daily Telegraph next greets your screen on the Daily Telegraph. Reeves U-turn on dangers of NI rise. Straplines read, she admitted it would hit workers' pay and cuts and tax increases to £40 billion. Inserted prominently here is a picture of Thomas Tuchel, the former Bayern Munich manager who led Chelsea to Champions League glory in 2021, who is to succeed Gareth Southgate and become England's first German-born boss. Tuchel is expected to start in January. Elsewhere, wrong leader could spell end for the Tory party. This is a statement by Kemi Badenoch, who has warned Tory members that the Conservative Party will cease to exist if they choose the wrong leader. Now, the Shadow Housing Secretary said, we have one chance to get this right, telling members that the current leadership race is an existential moment for the party. Inside the Daily Telegraph newspaper, you find other stories. Murdered Sarah wore hijab to hide abuse. And tidal wave of demand for NHS weight loss jab. Let's move away from the Daily Telegraph and pick up a copy of the Financial Times newspaper as we look at some stories around the economy internationally. Boeing seeks $35 billion to brace balance sheet while strike paralyzes factories. Straplines say output halted by union and plane maker needs extra liquidity. Downgrade warning spurs action. ESML Tech leads tech routes after warning of slow recovery in semiconductor sector. Now, this story is continued in the Financial Times newspaper. Beneath the masthead, you'd find two stories of interest here. Saudis apply brakes to headlong spending. A very big read on news page 17 of the Financial Times. And China can yet avoid catching Japan's malady. A special report by Martin Wolf on page 19 of the Financial Times. Now, still staying in the U.S., let's pick up the New York Times as we look at stories making rounds in the U.S. On the front page of the New York Times, swift rise puts Trump loyalists in the sport. Bluster marks lack of experience, foes have said. And on the right, U.S. tells Israel to increase flow of relief to Gaza. Military aid is at risk. Now, Netanyahu promises not to strike Iran nuclear or oil sites now. Lebanon's hospitals buckle amid an onslaught, and indiscriminate strikes overwhelm health system, UN says. Trump's ideas for border slim on detail. Now, during a rally in Arizona on Sunday, former President Trump left out a crucial detail when promoting his proposal to hire 10,000 new agents to patrol the U.S.-Mexico border. With $1 billion in Harris coffers, it's not easy to appeal for more. And rather here says she thought of harming her baby, doctors kept them together. This is the blood dripping from the bathroom faucet was the first sign and something was wrong. A story continued on news page A8 of the New York Times. Let's move away from the New York Times and see if we can squeeze in about two papers on the International Review segment this morning. Now, the next paper on this lineup is the Washington Post, still staying with the U.S. On the Washington Post, climate of chaos at psychiatric facility. I'll take that again. Climate of chaos at psychiatric facility. And U.S. sets Gaza aid deadline for Israel. In a mixed city, black men tipped on Harris, and some Pontiac residents say the candidate's vision just does not include them. Rather, here reads, eroding the housing market. Climate change may be repricing Americans' biggest assets, swaths of real estate data show. And Trump's freewheeling final stretch. Trump's freewheeling final stretch. These are the stories you'd find on the front page of the Washington Post. Now let's see if we can get more reports here. The I newspaper is our last paper on the lineup before we come back to have discussions on the local scene here in the studio. Now, as the I newspaper greets your screen, we start off with an exclusive headline story. NI tax hike on business will hit workers, Reeves told. The Chancellor has also faced warnings from economists and Labour MPs and the budget watchdog that a national insurance rise will hit wages and consumers. Reeves has signaled she plans to increase employer contributions and insists doing so would not break Labour's manifesto pledge on taxes. But the AIFS says it is a tax on the earnings of working people, while the OBR previously told the Treasury that raising the levy would result in lower pay. And finally, a Labour MP tells small businesses won't hire, these places would fold. In politics, MPs likely to vote for assisted dying law next month. The I newspaper analyzes show. And art to cry for, the best tearjerkers in song, film, and stage. Continued on news page 42 of the I newspaper. Now, let's pick up other stories here. U.S. raises threat of Israel arms embargo as Gaza humanitarian crisis angers the White House. Reports not true, Israeli official tells I newspaper. And in football, Thomas Tuchel is next England boss. An analysis says the German is not perfect, but he is a winner. Now, these are the stories you'd find on the I newspaper. Coming back to the studio now, we are being joined by our guest who is going to be discussing sustainable solutions to malnutrition and hunger in the country. Now, engineer Dr. Adbn Okon Effion is a food security expert as well as a crop farmer. She joins us now to lend her thoughts and wealth of knowledge into ways to end the food crisis in the country, marking World Food Day at a time when Nigerians continue to grapple with food security, while the country is riddled with daunting food crisis. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Good morning.
Well, I believe I did justice with your name.
You tried.
Fantastic. It's wonderful to have you on the program. You look fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. You too.
All right. It's World Food Day, and reports coming in from different newspapers this morning are quite not encouraging for Nigerians, especially with statistics saying that a family of 4 to typically feed within a month just 1 meal per day would cost around 150,000 naira in a country where the minimum wage is pegged at 70,000 naira per month.
Yes.
How would you react to this?
Okay, so food security is a global concern. So bringing it down to Nigeria, it's something that everyone needs to be concerned about. The first question I'm going to be asking us is, what do we do with the spaces in our homes? As I speak with you, if you come to my house now, I have a garden. I have an empty space of land that belongs to someone that the person is not using. I went ahead to plead with the person, since you're not ready to build, can I just plant some crops there? And the person said, oh, you can go ahead. So I get plantain from my garden. I get all the crops, the scent leaf and all of that. So the question is, what do we do with the spaces in our homes? As I walked into here, I expected to see you have corn, you know, those vegetables.
Within the vicinity.
Yes, within the vicinity.
Yes.
So, and this is something we need to be very conscious about. We don't need to buy everything from the market. This is what our parents taught us. I don't know what happens to these Gen Z children now. Nobody wants to work with their hand. Everybody wants to buy something in the market. I can't buy scent leaf from the market. I can't buy vegetable from the market. I can't even buy tomatoes from the market. So every space I find in my house, I use it to plant. Now, you are going to tell me that, oh, I don't have an empty land. But what happens to that sack bag? Because you can plant in that sack bag. You get the soil.
Right in front of your house.
Right in front of your house. So instead of wasting the space and planting flowers, I'm not saying don't plant flowers, yes, but you should do more of planting crops. So those basic crops that you need, you can just turn your backyard and you get them to use. So you don't spend so much. I can't remember the last time I bought plantain in the market. Because if you come to my small garden, I have enough plantain. Okay, so we need to be able to begin to manage spaces. And then you have those old rubbers. Yeah. You say you want to throw them. There's no waste anymore. You keep them, broken rubbers that you're supposed to throw away. Keep them and put the soil and plant.
Well, that's a fantastic take on this and a beautiful way to advise people to plant. However, there are some factors we also need to consider. Yeah. Now, I remember growing up, we had like a mini farm in my house, yeah, in our compound, and you know, my mom had corn, she had the scent leaf you were talking about, she had, you know, aloe vera and other things in the farm. Yeah. It was beautiful. She could easily go there and pluck things. However, in contemporary houses that we find now, especially in estates, these things are not permissible. You'd find green areas where you just see grass or trees, not food crops now, just for beautification. And it appears that the confined spaces that we now live in, especially in urban cities like this, just do not allow for people to be able to do this subsistent farming within their compound. How do we address this issue?
Now, in that compound that you have a space to park, even if it's one car. How do you get into the compound?
Well, you drive in.
Beautiful. So when you drive in and park your car, you still have space to walk through, right?
Certainly.
Put bags of cement. They don't take spaces. Bags of cement. Just line them by your fence. Instead of planting flowers, line the bag of cement, put black soil, the planting soil, and plant your crops. That's what we're saying. So instead of planting flowers, you can do little flower in the front just to beautify it, but the rest just round your fence. Put bags of cement, put soil, the planting soil, and plant your crops.
Well, then that's an interesting take. But let me take you back to statistics here on the Guardian newspaper. Now, I believe it will be displayed on the screen as we take a look at the stats again on the Guardian. By the conservative estimate of the national average cost of a healthy diet of 1,255 naira per meal. A family of 4 would require 150,000 naira per month to have 1 meal per day. Now, mind you, the standard is 3 square meals per day. If you can't go for 3, you could do 2. Most people do 2 these days even. Nobody has time for 3 square meals per day. But to even eat 1 square meal per day for a standard family of 4, father, mother, 2 children, you would need 150,000 naira. Most people can't afford half of that, which is our minimum wage in a month.
If you do this planting that I'm talking about in your compound, you're going to reduce that by 50.
How so?
Oh, okay. So if you want to prepare plantain, let's say you want to eat plantain and vegetable sauce, right?
Yes.
So in your compound, you have plantain. You have the vegetable. So what you may be buying will be just pepper or Maggi and salt and palm oil or vegetable oil, right? So you have the plantain, which is very expensive, and then you have your pepper planted in your compound, so, and then the vegetable. So by the time you realize that, you have served up to 70%. What you'll be buying from the market is going to be palm oil and Maggi and salt that you don't have control over. But the ones that you have control over, we are advocating that you should be able to plant that. Meanwhile, the government can do a lot.
Yes.
By encouraging every home operation, every home plant 3, 4, 5 crops. You know, we like incentive.
We like incentive.
Okay, we are going to give you incentive if we come for inspection from Ministry of Agri and you have planted like 4 or 5 crops, because it's going to save the country a lot. It's going to give us some level of food security. We are going to give you incentive if you have about 3, 4, 5 crops planted and they are doing well. So our incentive to you is going to be, or maybe we'll give you some seedlings, we give you fertilizer, we support you. I'm telling you that every home is going to find a way of doing it. Why am I saying so? I'm from Cross River State. When we had a governor, Governor Donald Duke, this is what he did. He said everybody should go and plant pineapple. If you plant pineapple, one of the challenges is that where do we sell it to? Government said then, if you plant pineapple every Friday, bring it to the roundabout in the market. We are going to buy it from you. I went into pineapple planting because when we were sure that the government was going to buy, we're going to have money back. And then government was also supporting us with fertilizer. So the government has a lot to do. Let us even move from this point and go into those who are doing large-scale farming. Let me tell you something. The people they give agricultural grants here are people who are portfolio farmers. We want to appeal to government that they should send their staff to go to the field.
When you say portfolio farmers, I think you should simplify that. What do you mean by portfolio farmers?
They don't have the farm. There's no farm for anybody to
They're
cite.
just farmers on paper.
Thank you very much. They come with a lot of paper, documentations, and speak big English, big grammar.
And get grants.
Thank you. And they are the ones that actually have the access. The real farmers, those who do farming, because as I do real farming. I do plantain farming and cocoa farming and oil palm farming. I've never seen somebody from Ministry of Agriculture coming to say, oh, you're planting on 258 hectares. What can government do? We don't have access to...
Well, the 258 hectares of land, is it here in Abuja or in...
No, in Cross River. In Cross River State.
Well,
yes.
That's quite impressive.
Very, very impressive.
And how do you manage... Because there's yet another report stating that the average farmer in Nigeria loses about 50% of farm produce during the process of harvest. I believe it's the stats you are very much aware of.
Very correct.
Now, how do you handle issues like this and ensure that what you've planted, the projected farm produce that you expected to get out of it, is at least 80 to 90%, gotten from the soil?
One of the serious challenges that we have, maybe from our terrain, is that to get to the farm, the road is terrible. You can't even access. If you do not have a tractor, in fact, sometimes we need to drive, get to a point, climb a bike, and then trek the remaining part to the farm. Now, the farm is a very big farm, so you have a farmhouse, managers and workers and all of that. After the farming, the soil is very, very healthy.
Yes.
But bringing it out is the challenge because there's no road. Nobody is helping you. You're the one doing everything. No government incentive, no fertilizer, no seedlings, no nothing. Now, this is something we love because we have passion. And so you have so many farmers like that. They don't have access to government support at all. I want to use this medium to appeal to government. The federal government is doing so much, right? But it is not feasible because it's not actually getting to the end users.
Well, let's talk about government intervention and the effectiveness that it has had over the years. Now, if you recall very well, there was a time when the scheme called Anchor Borrowers Program was brought about. That did not really go well.
It didn't.
It did not go well, and many people bashed the policy, saying that people who were responsible with the whole system sort of mismanaged it. Funds were looted or siphoned or diverted, and people who were giving out the loans to ended up not using the monies for the agricultural farming that they were supposed to use it for. How do we ensure that we checkmate such programs to make sure that people like you, farmers like you who farm in large scale, who are not just portfolio farmers, actually get access to these schemes, to these funds, to these loans, and utilize them in the proper way?
Anchor Borrowers scheme was a very genuine scheme by the federal government, right?
Yes.
But implementation became a challenge because you allow funds to get to the people that don't need it. You allow funds to get to portfolio farmers. I've said it again and I'm repeating it again. Portfolio farmers. Why don't you decentralize it? Right? Take this money, stop giving it to politicians. Take it to the Ministry of Agric. Make sure that what I wish that government should do is that they should form genuine committee that have real farmers, because something that you have passion to do, you will not want to destroy it. That have, real farmers, identify real farmers from states, put in that committee as a federal government,
yes.
Send them to the states and pass that, that scheme through them. And there must be evidence. I like video evidence. Go and inspect farms. See the owners of the farms and let them apply as it is, so that you know that you're actually giving money to the real farmers. I've been in farming for over 10 years. I've never gotten fertilizer from government. I mean fertilizer as small as that is. But people keep getting these things and they are not farmers. So decentralize it.
Yes.
Create a committee of real farmers from states. Stop telling politicians to appoint people for you because they will never get you the real persons. If you actually want this to work, as I speak with you from my farm, when we want to do cutting, plantain cutting, we can cut 4 tractors at a time. Because you have to put in the tractor to bring it out for you to come and sell, right?
Yes.
And then we sell it not very expensive because of our terrain. We can't even make it expensive because the basic thing for us is, first, you have passion for it. 2, you want food to be available.
Yes.
So government, federal government should decentralize this agro borrower scheme. It's not going to work if you leave it in Abuja. Identify real, genuine farmers. Before someone is put in that committee, federal government should make sure that they send someone who is genuine to go and identify the person's farm. Right?
For assessment, on-ground assessment.
On-ground assessment, not stories, not paper. On-ground assessment. We need to be as practical as that for us to get it right. Because, let me tell you, if we get food security right, a lot of things will take place. Even the malnutrition you're talking about. Because if I eat healthy, why am I going to be malnutrited, right?
Yes.
Why will I be malnourished? I won't be malnourished because I'm eating well. I can't remember the last time I went to the hospital because I make sure that I eat organic food and I eat well. I eat food from my farm.
Now, this is because you have access to, organic food. You are a farmer. You farm in large scale. I mean, over 200 hectares of land is
it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's quite a big one. Now, let's narrow it down to say, communities in northern Nigeria, where reports have shown that in the last couple of years, farmers have become more and more dependent on fertilizer more than ever before. Now, back in the day, you could, be walking on the streets and you'd find food crops growing on the streets. Perhaps somebody throws a seed somewhere, rain falls, it starts to germinate. But now, when farmers farm or put seeds in the ground without fertilizer, there's usually no yield. What do you think might have happened over the time? Is it an issue of climate change? Is it an issue of the soil getting weakened across board? What exactly is the root cause of this, and how do we address it?
Okay, so in the north, we in the south, we do seasonal farming, right? We have seasons for everything. But in the north, you can eat corn every day. But in the south,
because there is both dry season and rainy season
So
farming.
you can eat corn every day because they do irrigation farming. So you realize that because of space or because of their land, exactly. So they do farming on the same land every year. Now this is what happened. It's like the human body. If you use it and overuse it, that is what happened. It will weaken the soil. So you will need to get supplements. As you get older, they tell you need to be taking supplements. So that land is being overused, so you need to be putting fertilizer. But back where we come from, it's not like that. But also, if you go into large-scale farming, you will have to use fertilizer. But we also have organic fertilizer. For instance, like in my garden, I always want to use my garden at home because, see, I'm very passionate about farming. I like to use garden in my home. Now, this is what I do. I have a neighbor, I have someone around, my vicinity that rears chicken, and then the people where you have the cow park. Yes. So I go there, I send my people to go there and get this dunks for me. Yeah, that's my fertilizer.
But do you use the non-organic fertilizer, the processed fertilizers?
Yes, you have to use it in the large scale farming. Okay. Like the one we have, the 258, you have to use it. But back in the house, which is
you just get animal waste and
use it. So there's no way you can do away with using fertilizer. You have to use fertilizer, but we also want to encourage that they give us something that is a bit healthy, right, for us, because we must use it. If we go into large-scale farming, we must use it.
Now let's talk about some food items that people cannot necessarily farm easily, right? You mentioned that people could farm corn, people could farm the little vegetables that they can, use for soups and stuff in their backyard or in their household. But talking about things like eggs, where we are seeing a
vegetarian, will you listen to me?
well, personally, I don't think I would consider that now because I love meat.
You have to find a way of
and the reality of many Nigerians is that they don't even want to be vegetarians. They are just vegetarians by proxy. They have to be vegetarians.
They have to be vegetarians. They have to. We encourage you to be vegetarian, but let's deal with the issue now. Okay. The issue of egg. Well, I'm going to say that as a person, I don't want to generalize it, but as a person, I'm not an egg person. I don't like.
It's the cheapest source of protein that anybody can get.
Well, that's correct. But we also have people who are farming, who are doing that particular part of farming. That's the poultry farming. So we want to also appeal to the government. People are doing it. Can we also encourage them? Because, it's very messy. You can't have it around in an estate. Let's tell yourself the truth. So you have to go very far to go and own that farm.
And you need a lot of capital.
You need a lot of capital. That's the truth. So we're appealing to government too to help us and fund these people genuinely. That's why we said people, the agri ministry, those who are agriculturists, need to be physical. They need to move. They don't need to be in the office. It's a practical thing. As an engineer, I don't need to sit in the office. I go to the field. So if you're an agri expert, you're working in Ministry of Agri, you need to be physical. So you need to genuinely, when people apply for something, genuinely go and inspect. And when you see that these people genuinely own this farm, poultry farming, government should give them grants. Government should support
But doctor, everybody must not own a farm. we are trying to figure out a way to make these food items cheaper.
Everybody must own a farm, no matter how small it is.
How is that? How is that possible?
We need.
We were talking about some food crops that people can own easily. Fine and good. Maybe people might consider getting these small cement bags and all and planting, but in situations where people want to eat meat, so they certainly can't rear their cows or sheep or goats or chicken within the estate. They can't rear chickens to be able to get eggs, and they have to buy eggs. They have to be dependent on the supply of eggs from farmers who farm in the outskirts of town or in specially, kept poultry farms. A crate of egg is 6,000 naira.
6,800.
6,800. That's almost 7,000 naira at the moment. They have to depend on that. If they want to eat eggs, they have to buy it at such an outrageous amount. How do we ensure that we checkmate these prices? I know times are hard. I know the economy is biting hard on the backs of business owners like you and other farmers as well. But how do we ensure that in as much as you're looking for profit, you're also not transferring that back-breaking crunch on ordinary Nigerians who just want to afford an egg in their meal?
This is where the government comes in. Like I said government will need to give grants. Because when government gives you grants, it's not a loan. They need to support farmers with grants, genuinely. That's why I said don't give money to portfolio farmers. Go and identify them and make sure that farmers sign agreement with government. If government gives you support like this, we don't expect you to, do this produce and then you come and be escalating the price in the market.
How do you checkmate that?
Oh, you will checkmate it.
Are there agencies responsible for that, or are you calling for an establishment of another agency to ensure that these prices are checkmated?
My brother, in that Ministry of Agri, there should be a department, because except you want federal government to create another one, but I'm saying that in that Ministry of Agri, there is a department that is supposed to go and checkmate that. So, but people are sitting in the office. Nobody wants to go to the field. People should go to the field and do the job, so that when government spends money, they should see the benefits of that money they are spending. Even when they want to give grants or they want to give loan, the interest rate should be so minimal that it will not be a burden on the farmer. So when government does that, when government gives you an ambience for you to do well, why will you be making things expensive? There will be an agency to check that. And if you're found guilty, of course you know what that means to you. Because, of course, I know what government should be able to do to you. So
there should be some sort of, system with punishments to be meted out on defaulters.
Once you don't put punishments on defaulters, people will continue to do what they like. So when government, if you cannot give what you don't have. When you give me support, I expect that I give you back something good. But if you don't give me support and I'm the one that has to do everything, of course you don't have any local standing to come and be.
Now this is a rather personal question, but have you been able to access any form of loan or grant from the federal government or any government agency in your business as a farmer?
Never.
Why has it been very difficult for you?
Because
or have you just not looked that way?
We have applied. They said, come and apply for, in fact, I've applied for tractor because our farm is massive. We've applied for tractor, we can't access it. We've applied for fertilizer, we don't even know where the application gets to. All this link, go and fill this, go and fill that, we fill. But I am of the opinion that when these things are submitted, because at the end of the day, we hear that people have been given. I don't even know who has been given from Cross River, to be very candid. Now, my question is, how do they judge to give the people that they give? Is it the same man, no man? Because if you want to follow, it's the right way. If I write an application and I said, I have a farm that is about 258 hectares, I have plantain, I have oil palm, I have cocoa on it, I should expect to have seen someone from Ministry of Agri coming to inspect the farm, doing a real-time online inspection of the farm. So they can say, okay, you are qualified or you're not qualified. This is my farm. It's my farmland. And you're saying I should go and bring CAC certificate from where? I'm a farmer. This is my property. Come and identify. Farm is registered. You have it. Why don't you come and take a look? I'm not even saying give me money. without coming to confirm. Come and confirm the farm.
And probably give tractors or fertilizers or some sort of incentive.
Exactly. And support us with seedlings, fertilizers, tractors, as the case may be, depending on what you have seen. So, but they are not ready to go out and work.
Now, a lot of people have, in a rather satirical or comedic way, said that the federal government is a government of rice palliatives. A lot of times Nigerians have tweeted, posted, or made comments towards the federal government that each time there is some sort of natural crisis in any part of the country, the only resort that the federal government does through the states is to send out trailers of bags of rice to states. There is a riot in a city and people are killed, bags of rice. There is flooding in Maiduguri, bags of rice. Something happens, bag of rice. Is the Nigerian government incapable of farming any other thing, preserving it and dishing it out to the Nigerian populace other than rice?
No, Nigerian government is capable to do all that.
Why is the Ministry of Agriculture not doing the necessary?
I want to say, you know, those days it used to be gari, it used to be staple food.
Exactly.
Rice has become staple food. You know why? Because you can cook rice any which way and it will become a complete meal. Variety. You can do it jollof, what you call MTN rice, popo rice. You can do anyone.
It's the first time I'm hearing the MTN rice.
Oh, really? The palm oil rice is the MTN rice.
Fantastic.
So rice has become a staple food.
Yes.
Right? And then it's also easy to farm, harvest, and preserve than maybe beans. Beans has a lot of protocol to do. And then there are not many people farming it. From the north to the south, we farm rice. But in the south, we don't farm beans. So it's easy to get rice across the country, not easy to get beans. Now, if government does not have any business in business, it is private sectors that runs the economy of any country. So we are saying that ministry does not have they don't have any business to go and farm. No, they should just give us the support, the necessary support to farmers. If you encourage every Nigerian, even you, as I've spoken to you today, I expect that next time I come to visit you, because I'm going to visit you, I want to see those bags of cement that you've planted, tomatoes, pepper, and all of those things. Do you know what it means to communicate with nature? Ask farmers, as you come out from your house and you're looking everywhere, it's green. In fact, the thinking
it helps with ventilation and the air is purer.
The air gets purer, you get more healthy, so you reduce malnutrition because people will not have to go to the hospital. Everybody must farm something in this country. Look for something and farm. It's important. When you say everybody cannot farm, no, everybody must farm something. All of us cannot do crop farming. Some people will do animal farming, some will do crop farming, but everybody must farm something.
All right, fantastic. It's a beautiful take here, as engineer Dr. Egon Okon has mentioned. Everybody can and should be a farmer, whether in large scale, whether in small scale. Ensure that something that goes into your pot and onto your table is farmed by you, whether it's vegetables, the peppers you use, tomatoes, anything at all. In keeping with more discussions here, let's talk about people who are in crisis-torn areas within the country. Now, when I say crisis-torn areas, I'm talking about the northeastern parts of the country, I'm talking about the northwestern parts of the country, as well as other areas. But let's focus on these two areas now. Like in the northeast, the Boko Haram insurgency has displaced millions of people. More than 2 million people have been displaced. People can't access their farms. And in the northwest, people can't access their farms because of banditry. And even if they want to, the bandits have now come up with a system where they have to pay levies to them to be able to access their farms. Something that is unprecedented in the country, has never been seen. In areas like this, what do you think the possible way out of this is for people who can't go to the farm, who are solely dependent on farming to be able to survive?
All right, one of the challenges of insecurity too is hunger. right? And then over time, over the years, we've been treating security with kids' gloves. I think that's where the challenge is.
Yes.
And it's not only in the north, even in the south, because I know that my people from, Oron that brings crayfish and fish are also being attacked by the pirates in the water. That's the militants and all of that.
Yes.
Government needs to be very, very intentional with security.
Yes.
Fighting insecurity is very possible. You know why? Because these people live with us. We know them. They live in our communities. I wouldn't want to mention name, but I know that in my community far away there,
yes,
there was a time I got an information that we had a boy who was a bad boy. He ran, police were looking for him, he ran and came to the community. I took it upon myself with some other people to make sure that the police got him.
To fish him out.
To fish him out before he gets other corrupted, right?
Yes.
These people live with us. If we didn't take that step, he will be there and then begin to recruit others. Before you know, the community may not be anywhere for anybody to stay, right? So we have these people living in our communities. Why do we have local chiefs? What are we doing? They know them. So if you, some state governments will say, if we identify one militant, let me use the South, one militant in that community, you're going to be dethroned. And that certificate will be collected from you. That is one of the things that the governors from the South have used to curb these people. Yes. So we can also implement it in the North. Local, that is community policing, starts from me and you. That is why we have the chiefs, we have the kings, we have the elders, we have everybody watching everybody's back. So even in your house, if you know that you have somebody who is a bandit, you should be able to have the courage to say, okay, you want to go and blow whistle. But the problem now is that when you blow whistle and they go and report that you're the one that came and blew the whistle. But how safe is the whistleblower? Government needs to be intentional. Yes. Intentional. They need to leave. Need to stop politicizing.
In as much as not many people would have the privilege of being able to blow these whistles and get these miscreants apprehended, like in the case of Boko Haram. I mean, who wants to blow a whistle on a Boko Haram member? It's too dangerous.
Because if you blow, the person you're blowing to will not go and expose you.
Exactly. And in the Northwest, the bandits have held most northwestern communities hostage to the point where the president even asked the service chiefs as well as the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawali, to move to Sokoto in order to curb the banditry and kidnapping within that region. It's still an ongoing war with bombardments going on there. Now, moving away from that, let's still talk about say people who can't access farms. I know we have sort of established it, but in communities in the southeast or south, especially southeast, where things like the unknown gunmen situation has been ravaging people with Monday sit at home and all of that, the IPOP ASN situation, I believe that people sort of have clashes with these gunmen when they go to their farms, especially on days like Mondays. That is one. And another issue is the herder-farmer clashes, which started off from the northeastern part of the country and has now
been there.
And has now transitioned to other parts of the country. The herder-farmer clashes. I mean, I'm saying this because I've had reports in the northeast. I've done documentaries and all in the northeast, and I've been privy to some of these things. How do we ensure that farmers who are herders, because I believe herders are also farmers, they're cattle farmers, and farmers who farm crops, both have the same level playing ground so that nobody feels cheated at the end of the day?
Okay, so I think government is also trying to do, when they say confine your animals to a place, give them a place.
Confine grazing.
Confine grazing. Yeah. The farmers, the crop farmer is already confined because he's on this plot, he cannot move. So you should also make provision for the animal farmers, to have confined grazing, whether you like it or not. It has to be done. That is what is applicable everywhere in the world, so that you will not have these clashes. Because if I invest so much in my farming and then you bring your animal to come and eat it, is that supposed to be a joke? Are you understanding?
Yes.
So every state government must be intentional with making sure that there is a confined grazing a space for people who are into animal farming. We do it. For instance, I keep using Cross River States because that's where I'm from. Cross River State, we have it. People are farming pigs, you know, cows, everything. They are in their confined area and they know where to go to. They are in that their slaughters in their confined area and they feed them there very well. I feed my pigs, I feed my goats, I don't. There's a law. In our different communities, there are laws now because we have the local courts. We have the, what they call the village courts, real courts. If your goat is found eating somebody's crop, that goat will be arrested and taken to the court. Charged to court. Is the goat, the owner will show, abi. If you don't show, the goats will belong to the judge, the local judge, and that is it. So everybody now knows that there is a law in the land. So make sure that you confine your animal and feed their animals so that they don't go and destroy somebody's crop. So it's an intentional thing. Government should also help our community leaders. That's why I said that it begins and ends with our community leaders. When they say they want community policing, it's not about wearing uniform and being a committee. No. Community policing starts from the leaders in the community. Everybody must be conscious about it. So keep those laws. Those laws are there. Even in my village, as I speak with you, those laws are there. Don't allow your goat to eat someone's crop. If it does, we'll charge the goat to court. If you don't appear, they'll kill the goats and eat in the village square.
Well, Doctor, this is a rather controversial and sensitive topic. Because on one hand, while people are advocating that open grazing be outlawed in the country, other people are also of the opinion that the people of, you know, the Fulani clan that are well known for being herders, you know, across sub-Saharan Africa and in Nigeria, even in Abuja here, you see them transporting their cattle, you know, across cities, grazing on by the roadside and all of that. In as much as it is disturbing to some people, others have argued that it has been an age-long tradition and that some of these urban cities were built along the cattle grazing routes that the Fulani people have from time immemorial been grazing their cattle across, you know, the length and breadth of the country. How do we ensure that in as much as we are trying to urbanize cities, we are also not depriving these people who have their own way of life from carrying out what they have been doing for maybe centuries?
Do you think that anybody wishes to suffer? You see those people trekking, they can trek from here. It is not that they enjoy it per se. Those days, yes, even at that, they were not really enjoying it. But if you want to stop them from grazing like that, have you made provision for them? You haven't. So governments will first of all make provision for them. If you make provision and give them a space and give them good grazing, who wants to suffer? If they want to transport their cows, after all, taking cows from the north to Cross River State, you put it in trailers. They don't trek with it. So you see them on the road because there is no availability of grazing for them to do in a confined area. So government should first of all provide that for them. It is when they have provided that, then you can now stop them. You haven't provided, you want to stop them. That would not be fair. You are not fair. So let us provide them with that space and give them what it takes to take care of their cows, which will be more healthy than this suffer. Because this thing is, in fact, I get scared because some of them are so young and they're just running everywhere. And you know how the town is now. People are not, I don't know how to say, they are not patient, or they are not, there's no compassion.
Everybody is
in a hurry. Exactly. So they can be in a hurry and just hit someone's child. You think that child, the parent is so happy to allow that child to follow? No. So governments should make provision for them. That's the truth.
Well, contrastly, there is a law criminalizing open grazing in Nigeria. Now, this is according to a report here where it says the law popularly called anti-open grazing law, which is what the Fulani herdsmen do, came into effect in November 2017. According to the law, pastoralists and other interested parties are to lease land from the government for the establishment of ranches. The lease permit issued for such land is to be renewed annually. But in states like Ekiti, there is also a prohibition of uncontrolled grazing, where it says no person shall cause or permit any cattle or other ruminants belonging to him or under his control to graze on any land in which the governor has not designated as ranches. However, some of these state governors have refused to grant the Fulani herdsmen the right to own and operate ranches in their states, especially states like Ekiti.
Well, you cannot bring a law when you have not provided a solution. It won't work.
What is the solution in your opinion?
The government should be intentional to give them a grazing land. You should. These people are already struggling to survive, and you say they should come and lease land. From where? With which money? You will give them land. Give them land. That is supposed to be like, because we are supposed to operate it like a joint venture. Yes. So government contribution should be that land. Give them the land. Let them put it. It is when they have refused, you have given them, and they refuse to adhere to it. That's when you should begin to implement law. You cannot bring law now. There will be clash, whether you like it or not. So while we are trying to put our laws, let us also know that we are humans and we are compassionate. We should deal with people with empathy. If we put ourselves in their shoes, will we be able to afford it? The answer is no. The people are already struggling. So the same way you've given us land, even though we bought our own, right? Okay, that's because we're able, right? But they are not able. So provide land for them. It's already too expensive to rear cow. Let us tell ourselves the truth. If you don't want to give them land as a government, then you tell them to leave. And so you rear your cow. I think you're talking about people eating meat, Abby?
Yes.
So you'll be eating what when they leave? We have to coexist.
Maybe the eggs that now cost about 7,000 naira per crate.
We have to coexist because first we are Nigerians before we talk about tribe. I'm one of those that is advocating that we should take out this tribe thing. I'm born in Abuja and you are asking me state of origin. You shouldn't be asking me that. I'm born here. Oh, my parents are from Cross River, right? But I'm born here. Don't ask me state of origin on that certificate anymore. In Britain, if you have a child, that child is a Great British. It is written Great Britain. Nobody knows whether you are from Liverpool or you are from Manchester. That is what we should, so that we can begin to take away this mindset sentiments of tribe. We need to take it away. When we take it away, we will see everyone as a brother and as a sister. So what I cannot do to my own blood, will I be able to do it to a Fulani man? So we are all we need, and we are better together.
Well, Doctor, I must commend your passion and compassion for the Fulani people and their way of life, herding cattle and all. But there have been debates, especially within communities or circles surrounding if really the Fulani people ever get tired of trekking for hundreds of kilometers across the country for grazing. And one of the things that I took away from one of such debates is the fact that they actually move around the country because of times and seasons, where they move their cattle to graze in different places, always looking for greener pastures across the country. If they stay in one place, their cattle will finish off the grass in those areas, and before the next season of regrowth comes about, their cattle might suffer. So that is why they continually transport this cattle. That is one. Now, mind you, cattle isn't cheap these days. They are what in a herd of cattle, they are what, if not up to 100 million, more than 100 million, because each cow now, we are talking about millions of naira.
Yeah.
When you say that the cattle herders can't actually afford land for lease, a lot of people might beg to differ. If they have cattle, which is an asset, worth millions of naira or hundreds of millions, I believe they can afford some certain amounts of money to pay the state governments to be able to lease these lands. Or do you think it's just perhaps a matter of lack of interest from their end?
Okay, in this country, we politicize everything.
Okay.
It's a business. In that herd that you see, people invest in it. Individuals can buy 1 cow, 2 cows, and
throw into that herd.
There. So sometimes it does not belong to one person. I'm telling you what I know.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to one person. So if you see 100 cows, it might belong to 50 or 60 people who just have little money and are interested in that. But because you cannot continue to do 1 cow, they say, okay, Malam, let me invest. I want to invest with 1 cow. Now, the Malam that is taking care of all those cows, is it his cow? It's not. and I only have money to buy one cow, and I put there, and you say we should come and buy land. Don't forget, these people are already used to, you know, moving and doing open grazing.
Yes.
How do you now solve this problem? Somebody who is used to sitting down on the floor to eat eba, I eat gari with my hands. If you like, take me abroad. I cannot use fork and knife. How do you now modify me to be able to use fork and knife to eat gari? First, you will solve that my problem, right?
Yes.
You want him to leave open grazing. Why don't you make provision? That should be your sacrifice. Make provision for him. Say, I have given you this land free of charge because I want to encourage you to stop open grazing. That open grazing, sometimes those children are killed. Speed, they will just kill them, kill the cows.
And there are instances of clashes between farmers and them in farms where, you know, people lose their lives. Either the farmers die or the herders themselves
So
are
are
killed.
we now happy that people are losing their lives? It's because we don't pay death insurance in this country. If we pay death insurance, government pays death insurance to individual families, then we'll be able to find solution. So these people are already used to this lifestyle. How do you now encourage them not to continue with this lifestyle? Give them free land. I'm saying it and I will say it again. Give them free land, dash it to them and tell them, see, all of you, this area like this is for you. I'm repeating it again. I have a governor who did it for mechanics in Cross River State. He said
and it worked.
It worked. He said, I don't want mechanics littered everywhere. Okay, this area now is for mechanic workshop. All of you.
We have something similar to that here in Abuja, the Apo Mechanics Village.
All of you, go there. Government gave them for free. Because if you had told individual to go there and buy land, they won't be able to afford it. They are mega mechanics. So if you know that people are already used to something and you want to change it, you must be strategic about it. So give them a place. Give them a space. Like we have. I keep saying it though. I keep repeating where I come from because it's working there. Like we have them there in that slaughter. They call it slaughter in 8 miles. They are there. So have you ever heard us having issues with them?
Certainly not.
Beautiful. So how is it working in other states? That is what they should, you know, check out in those states that are having issues.
Yes.
Ask your co-governors, how is it working? Why are you not having issues? We have people, or maybe because we are very passionate people from Cross River. We have people, we live with everybody and we are living peacefully. 1 or 2 little communal crises, it's normal, it will come, but not with them, never. And we've not had issues that they came into our farm. How? They have their space, and truly...
Because it was granted to them by the governor.
Free! Free! So you have to make this provision for them.
Now you are an engineer as well as a food security expert. Let's we have just about 7-8 minutes to wrap up this conversation. Let's talk about the place of technology or technological advancements when it comes to farming. The world has grown or gone past the days of cutlass and hoe in the farm. People now use mechanized farming in large scales to be able to get more yields, better returns, you know, in their farms and all. When do you think Nigeria will gradually tilt fully towards mechanized farming, where we would perhaps do away with the regular hoe and cutlass?
The federal government is genuine with its intentions, right?
Yeah.
But implementation too is a problem. We need to have moved like 10 years ago. We need to have moved. Up till today, we're still using cutlass, like you said. How many people can get those, you know, Boeing tractors? You can't, except you're a very rich person. That's why everybody, they want to run into politics because they think that there's free money there to take. If governments make provision, that's why I'm saying government should be intentional. I'm saying it here, there are so many farmers out there who have never had anything from government to support. If somebody has a farm on 100 hectares, government should be able to say, okay, farm on 50 hectares and above, we're going to give you support of this. Tell us, what do you need? We are going to support you, even if it is one thing. We don't say, come and give us everything. No. Support with one machine.
Yes.
And then, when you do that, it will encourage other farmers to come in. Everybody will turn into farming. Government needs to be intentional in investing in Ministry of Agri, but not giving grants and loans to portfolio farmers. They need to go and see physically Without that, they can never get. If you like, buy all the tractors and keep in Abuja. They would dash it to politicians. So the real farmers never ever get this.
Many people have argued that sometimes when these fertilizers, when these tractors, when these farming equipments are given out to state governments, they don't or even to politicians, as you mentioned, or public office holders, they don't necessarily give them out to the citizenry or the farmers the way they are supposed to. They just keep them, store them, and then perhaps use them as campaign materials during elections, where it now appears as if they are the ones providing these items to the farmers and not necessarily coming from the coffers of the federal government.
You saw what happened during COVID now?
Yes.
Federal government gave, food that they should go and share. They stored it.
And then it led to a de-escalation of peace in the country.
Why do you keep it? Ask them, how many states have database of farmers? That's where we should start from. You cannot operate if you don't have a database.
Yes.
So how many states governments have, how many states, ministries of agri, how many states have database of their farmers genuinely? So that when this palliative, when these things come, when the supports come, when you give farmer A, you tick the system, you have a way to say it has been given. So we gave you fertilizer, we gave you this. Next time when another thing comes, we're not going to be looking at that farmer, we'll look at the next farmer. That is how you keep going. Okay, if 100 items come, let us share the state into 3, right? North, south, and central. So 100, let us give 30, 30, 30. But from our database, right? Yes. We have these farmers. Genuinely, we have treated 30 farmers. So next time when these things come, so the Minister of Agri, Federal Minister of Agri should ask the state to come with database of farmers. And not only coming, he should send field workers from his office to go and truly identify those farms. If you don't identify those farms, Uncle, we're just wasting our times.
In the country?
Yes, we're just wasting our time in the country. We must identify those farms.
Well, finally, in as much as you are a food security expert and a farmer as well, I believe you also triple as a food nutritionist in some extent, to some extent.
Yes.
Well, in curbing malnutrition and hunger, I know you have outlined things that people can do, the types of plants they can, have in their homes and all. But let's talk about balanced diet. At a time when people can barely afford 2 square meals per day, when the standard is 3.
No, the standard should be 2.
The standard, it's no longer 3. Well, we all know it used to be 3 square meals, but okay, the standard is 2, but now people can barely afford 1. In affording that one, how do you think they can balance it up to ensure that that one meal, at least they have the egg that I had mentioned earlier, or some sort of other supplements that would make up for that?
Okay, let's be realistic here.
Yes.
The way our food is being structured, we eat. Okay, maybe I think it also depends on the part of the country. The side where I come from, we eat well, balanced diet. We have a lot of vegetable, protein. We balance. So that one meal, that eba and soup has everything inside. Has vegetable, protein, carbohydrate, and you drink water. No, we balance diet be that. That's balanced diet. Yes. Beautiful. So now, these are things we can farm. We can farm mushroom. It's very healthy. In fact, in those days, you don't even farm mushroom.
You just go to the bush and you pick them up.
But now you farm mushroom. So what do? Everybody, these fingers are not equal. So everybody cannot afford going to the market to buy egg. But that mushroom, you can farm it in your space. So that becomes your protein, right? So you have the vegetable, and then you have the cassava, the corn to use and do your swallow, because we must swallow. We are not Oyibo people. So if you're laughing, I'm sure you don't do swallow.
No, I do. Of course I do.
So if you have your small cassava, you have your corn, which you can, if you blend cassava and corn, that's semovita. I hope you know.
I do, yeah.
Beautiful. But you can also eat the corn differently, swallow the cassava differently. These are things you can plant in your farm. Then the vegetable, the pepper, everything, and then the mushroom. There's the other one they call black ear. That black one that does. You know that one?
No, I don't know the name, but I might have seen it before.
No, you've seen it. It's very nutritious. When you cook it in vegetable soup or okra soup, you can be sure of double balanced diet. When you finish, you drink water. That's the mineral. The water is the mineral. In fact, it's a real balanced diet.
Yes.
So in our local setting, we can comfortably eat balanced diet. Right?
Yes.
And then, you know, those days when we're young, you will just see guava, you cut it.
Yes.
Abby, we still have them. Right?
Yes.
So we still have them. So you can comfortably eat balanced diet without having to spend so much.
Well, I must thank you so much, Engineer Dr. Egon Okon-Effiong, for finding the time to come on the program and share your deep wealth of knowledge with us. It's been very informative, educative, and entertaining as well.
Thank you very much. It's also a pleasure to have me in your studio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that has been Engineer Dr. Egon Okon-Effiong, who is a food security expert as well as a crop farmer and a nutritionist as well. And she has been providing, proffering solutions of, ways to curb hunger and malnutrition in the country at a time when the country continues to grapple with food crisis in the nation. And that's all time would permit us to take on this particular segment of Morning Express. For sports lovers, Samuel Adeleke will be in the studio at the top of the hour to bring us up to speed with developments in the world of sports. So do well to stay around. When we come back, Morning Express will continue.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures